cultured person is one who knows something about everything and everything about something.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
The question was, what did you want to be?
You're like a big bear, man.
I like it a lot.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to
Houston, the Eagle has landed.
Yes, man, here we go. Welcome. You are now listening to and watching TAJ Talks, the home of capturing conversational tangents. Made in the UK, recorded live and unedited, and going out across all of these great British Isles. It's pebble beaches and across the sandy shores, from mountain high to valley low, to leafy green villages and to crowded concrete cities, from down south to up north to where east meets west, and out across the whole of these United Kingdoms and the global village that we call planet Earth. I'm your host, Taj, like Taj Mahal, but I say Taj. We are in week 1 of the year 2023, just 51 weeks left. Happy New Year, everyone. Wishing you a Wednesday welcome on your Friday, or your Saturday, or your Sunday, or whenever you're watching this. Thank you for stopping by once again to be part of the journey. I want to say hello to all my JRC people. Thanks for stopping by. Now that you're here, I just have one question for you, which is, are you ready for the tangents? Yes, let's do this. 2023. And it's me. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Yeah. Lovely. Clipping at the start of a brand new season, brand new year. Lovely. Clipping already. Hello, everybody. I have this thing with my thing. I just keep moving this thing around. Anyway, I spent all day today preparing for this, and I wasn't speaking much because I was just sat here preparing. And I haven't been speaking so much. My vocal cords feel like scratchy. So, I don't know I don't know if that's going to break. It sounds weird, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Anyway, so here we are. New season. Season number 2. Made it. And this is TAJ Talks. Talk number 11. The first one of season 2. Yes, Bob is here. So Bob is joining us for season 2. Hello, Bob. Nice for you. Nice of you to join us again. Not that you have an option. You don't have a body or legs, so I can pretty much pick you up and put you anywhere I want. So yeah, this is it. Welcome and thank you for joining me again for another TAJ Talks. Man, my voice is really annoying me. So here we go. Now, what can I say about this talk? I'm just looking at my notes. I'm already getting thrown off because there we go. I got some points. I was like, why am I not saying those points yet? Okay, this should have been recorded 4 hours ago. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I should have started this 4 hours ago. But there you go. That's just timing and planning. Not so great. But I have, because I've been planning. It's because I've been planning. So there's a lot more that hopefully is going to show that we are getting somewhere with the progression of TAJ Talks. So. Back after the Christmas break, Christmas holidays, New Year. I took the December off, didn't do anything. How was it for you? I tell you, for me, Christmas was non-existent, pretty much. Yeah, no, I didn't do any of the things that I planned to do for Christmas. Yeah. Wow, I'm just looking at my notes and I'm really getting confused because I'm like, why isn't that point in there? I didn't. Yeah. What? Oh, that's so weird. Oh, yeah. There we go. That's why it's over there. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes and I'm just like, I didn't get a chance to run through this before, as you can tell. Time is ticking already. So Christmas, I was home alone. Yeah. Didn't happen. Never ending story. Never ending story. Remember that? Yeah. Didn't happen. Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, because I kept calling it Sleeping Beauty when it's not. It was Alice in Wonderland. And in Talk 10, I kept calling it Sleeping Beauty. Yeah. Alice in Wonderland. Didn't happen. Rabbit Hole. Rabbit Hole didn't happen. And I might as well just say this as well, because the reason why I bought those DVDs was because Haldor. Sorry, man. I still haven't watched Unforgiven. Yeah, it didn't happen. I didn't do that over Christmas. I didn't do nothing Christmassy over Christmas. It was the quietest Christmas I've ever had, and I like it. I like quiet Christmas. Christmas, as says. So just checking everything's recording. And what I did do over Christmas though is I listened to something called The Desire of Ages, and I'm just gonna show you what that was. Let's start recording, shall we? Yeah. What are we recording though? What are you recording? I don't even know what this thing is recording. Stop recording. You see, this is the thing. Stop sharing. No, I want to share. Share screen. Share that screen. Start sharing. And it's recording. Oh my goodness. Sorry, this is all off. Oh goodness. Stop recording. I had this set up. Stop sharing. Share screen. Share this one over here. Yeah, that one. Share sound. Yes, jeez, man. Start recording. I'm so sorry about this, everyone. Apparently it's recording. I'll just have to take that on trust. Okay, and this is what I was doing. So, Desire of Ages. I was listening to this thing all Christmas Day. It's all about Jesus. It's a really good book. It's an audio book. And despite all my weirdness about faith and all that stuff, I started getting into that. But it wasn't just that. I had a strange mix of listening to Desire of Ages, but also I started looking into nuclear war, the possibility of nuclear war. What a nice thing to be looking at over Christmas. And if looking at nuclear war wasn't enough, you can see, like, I had Desire of Ages down here, but in between Desire of Ages, on Christmas Day, I was watching this. Yeah, nuclear war is not only imaginable but planned, yeah, all about the Marshall Islands and US testing nuclear weapons and stuff over there, okay? And then I started branching into opium wars between the British and Chinese. It's so random. I don't understand myself why I started watching this strange stuff. But anyway, so that's what I did. That's what I did. And same thing for New Year's. New Year's didn't really do anything too special. Actually, nothing really. I was tempted to go to bed before midnight. I didn't. I stayed up, and I just read some books. That's my other prop down there. I read this. A Work of Heart by Reggie McNeal. I should put it that way in it so you can see my face. By Reggie McNeal. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm reading about David. I'm learning a lot about the life of David. I want to fling that over there as well, but I just did that because of the DVDs. My anger that I didn't watch the DVDs. And then that was it. And then midnight came along, and that was it. It was a quiet one for midnight. Talk 10. Yeah, what I was trying to say before. I was saying, why are my notes not showing me what? Yeah. So Talk 10 had problems with the beard, had problems with the moustache. I took the mick out of Mr. Beast. And then I realised I didn't need to do the whole thing of like, I'm Mr. Beast here, and covering my top lip. Because my top lip was covered by my moustache anyway. I didn't cut it. And I didn't get a chance to cut this one as well today. So, oh well. But also, talk number 10, my first strike. I had first strike from YouTube. Yeah. Boney M, Rasputin. He was a certain man. Yeah, that got me caught up on the YouTube copyright thing. So sorry to those in Russia, because now you can't watch my video. Apparently, I'm banned from Russia. So sorry, Vlad. Sorry that whilst you're engaging in your war, you cannot ease your pain by watching TAJ Talks. Also, motorbike injuries were very clearly visible in the talk. I just realised, so I can see my motorbike injuries. Yeah, it still hurts. My foot still hurts. I don't think it's ever going to be healed, to be fair. I think I'm going to be permanently walking with some kind of damage. Wow, it's gone so fast, the segment already. So yeah, Talk 10, just some things there. Yeah, my motorbike injuries were clearly visible, and yeah, that's it. What's the other thing? Yeah, I forgot to say thanks not just to the subscribers, everyone who's subscribed, but also everyone who's commenting and liking. You know, thanks to all the commenters and likers. So thank you to all of you guys. And also, I have this thing now. Yeah, rather than doing this, yeah, I can do this with that. Yeah, let's get rid of that, because now I can say, hey, if you like this, hit the bell icon, like, share, subscribe. Ding! There we go, and I can do that. So this is the new way. Automated bliss is now the future. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about as we get into all of this. You know, the day after I recorded the Talk 10, I had some weird coincidences. You know, talk about like parallel worlds coincidence. I started talking about parallel worlds at the end of the last talk, and I started talking about, you know, fringe and all these weird stuff and coincidences. What weird coincidence that after I filmed talk number 10, and I was talking about the future of TAJ Talks in season 2 and how I'm really determined about this whole 3-hour podcast thing and radio, and Jimmy Church is my kind of like my role model and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what happened? The next day after I recorded it on the Saturday 26th, the 27th, Jimmy Church released an announcement from Fade to Black. And it was, and by the way, I really do think he is my twin, because I mean, look at him. Look, this is Jimmy right there. I'm going to mute that. He's talking. Hold on.
Into two different directions: consciousness and science. And it just pushes me. And I'm not the smartest person in the world.
He's wearing glasses. He looks just like me. He's copying me.
Right. And I'm asking myself questions all the time.
That's why I love Jimmy,
and
though.
Because I am searching for answers, I'm forced to go into the world of science.
Listen, that's 13 hours ago. That's his most recent. How coincidental was that? His latest talk actually dovetails with the talk that I'm about to do. So strange. Isn't that so strange? But yeah, so Jimmy Church announces something the day after I record mine, and he announces that he's going to do the exact opposite of everything that I said. No more 3-hour show. We're going to do a 2-hour show. We're not going to do any intros in the show. We're not going to do any introductory segments, new segments. All he goes going to go straight into the interview. He made some other comments. He said no more radio format, no more ad breaks, no more music breaks. It was the complete opposite of everything that I had been saying. And I was just thinking, wow. That's so strange, man, because I was setting my whole pitch for this is the way future forwards for me and Jimmy, at least, and I felt like it was only me and Jimmy still doing it, and now Jimmy's bailed, so Jimmy's left, and so now I'm truly on my own. So Art Bell is no more, but for me, in a weird way, there's no more Jimmy Church. It's not the same show anymore, man. And I don't really watch Jimmy Church as much as, well, I wasn't really watching much Jimmy Church before, anyway, to be fair. But anyway, so yeah, but there were so many other coincidences as well after that last talk. But I'll talk about that later. Now, today's guest, so that's me going back over Talk 10. Today's guest is Crocetation. Now, Crocetation. You remember we were doing the whole thing about who's Crocetation, and eventually we saw a comment from Crocetation eventually as well. Crocetation, Adam, you're going to meet Crocetation today, okay? Now, this was a talk that I recorded way back. This was recorded the day after I filmed the one with Acer. So this was during that period when I was just recording loads of different guests, because I was just stacking them up. I had the motorbike accident. I was at home. And so this was recorded on Monday, the 29th of August. Today is going to be that talk with Adam. So Adam is Crocetation. So Adam, get ready. We're going to be looking, everybody get ready to watch Adam. And you know, the weird thing is Adam was a brand new person for me. I never met him before. And I never really spoke to him apart from the night before we filmed that podcast. And we were sitting outside in the garden the night before we filmed the podcast on the 29th, so on the 28th. And we were just having this chat about like technology and computers and all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, the conversation was so good that I was saying to him, I was like, I have to put you on the podcast. And like, so he was leaving the next day, so we had to do it tomorrow. So I said, okay, you know what? From now on, I'm just going to talk about the logs, because if I talk about anything else with you, we're going to lose it for the podcast. So yeah, I had to get Adam onto the podcast the next day. Now, just to prime you all, the conversation with Adam is really about this guy, based upon the ideas of a guy. Well, kind of based upon, we use it as a launch pad. The conversation starts talking about like the singularity. Now, the singularity is based upon the ideas of make sure Larry doesn't fall over. Ray Kurzweil. Now, this book is very reflective, so it's got a hologram kind of cover because it's about hologram graphic universe. Anyway, Ray Kurzweil. So Ray Kurzweil is the guy that most of the conversation we had. He talked about the singularity. What's the singularity? Ray Kurzweil talked about how in this book, he said that by the year 2029, the Turing test will have been passed. The Turing test is the test that tries to decide whether a computer or artificial intelligence is indistinguishable from a human, such that a human can't tell that they're talking to a computer, right? In this book, Age of Spiritual Machines, Ray Kurzweil talks about how the singularity is coming. And the passing the Turing test is a step in that direction. And that by 2030, we would start beginning the amalgamation of humans with technology, and that we would start becoming one, and that we would get to such a point where the singularity occurs, where basically we are growing technologically with such exponential growth that we wouldn't even know what the future could look like, because there are so many advances coming. So he almost goes into spiritual territory, but he says the singularity is coming in 2045. Now, that's kind of the basis for the conversation that me and Adam are going to have. Now, it sounds kind of geeky and technical and nerd and all that kind of stuff, but we very, very quickly, when you'll see, we get into the conversation, which starts going into theology and spirituality and God and all the rest of it. So I'm going to keep that book here because I'm probably going to refer to it later on. So that's the conversation that we've got going on today. Now, you'll notice that I'm not, it's obviously a different time that I've recorded it, so I was going to wear the same t-shirt as I wore on that day just for continuity, but there might be a few other continuity mistakes that you'll notice, but I just didn't do that. Now, I need to get moving because I've got so much things to say. So the rest of the call, we only had a chance to do 1 hour together, so the rest of today's conversation, I'm going to fill in the gaps with my own thoughts and ideas. So yeah, let's just leave it at that and say we'll talk more about Adam when we get to it. So that's the guest coming up today. Now today I'm going to say something. You know how I like anacronyms. You know my whole Bliss thing. Anacronyms. I got another an acronym for you. Whibbit. Okay, here's the first segment. First planned segment. Running out of time. Time's always against me though. Whibbit. What have I been up to? This is my first segment. Okay, so what have I been up to? I was supposed to do so much work on the podcast. I really didn't. I spent a lot of time gaming, so you can look at where I was in the gaming world. If my Steam is going, yeah, so you go. So Death Stranding, I went for instead of Plague Tale. Man, amazing. Addictive, scarily addictive. Playing Alien Isolation, yeah, man, that's also amazing, really good. And Star Wars Fallen Order. Star Wars Fallen Order. Oh, I forgot. I didn't realize it was called Jedi's Fallen Order. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that, a bit of gaming. I've been doing a bit of reading as well. I've been getting into my King Arthur. So there's my King Arthur. Yeah. I'm really rushing this now because I spent so much time faffing around with Skype. Brilliant, by the way. So I'm getting into back into my yearly fantasy thing at Christmas time, in New Year time. I read King Arthur, all the rest of it. So I'm doing that. And also I've been going through working through my crisis of faith situation, and I got more to say on that later on. So that's really what I've been doing. And then the other thing now is to just talk about some of the other things I've been doing. The film of the month. So what was my film of the month? Here's my film of the month. Man, I just planned things too well. I've got so many things to say. This is the problem now. Here's my film of the month. Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. Amazing film. Man, so it really works, does a mind job with the concepts. That's the trailer. I'm going to close the thing on that. That's the trailer to it. This film, man, it's just... Okay, so it's about a guy who has a laptop, and his laptop upstairs, where he lives above the shop, is 2 minutes ahead of everything that happens downstairs. So when he goes upstairs, he's actually looking at things 2 minutes ahead. So the laptop is recording him too. So he goes upstairs and the laptop starts talking to him. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, do you see what he's doing? And then he goes back down and then he's behind in time. So there's this weird and the things that happen in it does so much. It's just a brilliant film. I haven't explained it well because of my time pressure. I'm aware of time pressure. So that's what I've been watching. One of the films I can recommend. Look at that. Look what happens. Huh. So they put the film... Anyway, you got to watch this. This is amazing. Where they take it is so good. And then tune of the month has been Stereophonics. This is my tune of the month. Mr. Writer by Stereophonics. Yeah, man, I've been doing a lot of writing, working out my thoughts, all this kind of stuff. And this tune, man, I won't play the sound, but Stereophonics has been my tune of the month. So I'll just very quickly move on to the next one. Annoying song of the month or between the month. I've always wanted to do this. I hate this song by Bob Sinclair. Feel the church generate boom boom. Boom, 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 boom. Feel the love generation. Boom, 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 boom. I hate that song. I really hate that song. And I've been thinking about doing this segment for so long, and I haven't got enough time to show all my hate for it. But I really hate that song. So that's that. Annoying YouTube ad is this one. I really hate this YouTube ad.
Welcome to Apple Fitness Plus.
We're in this together. You're riding with Kim and
this is getting annoying.
Let's go.
Press with your left arm.
Grab a sip of water. Breathe.
I don't like this ad.
Let's do one more.
Makes me dance though.
See you next time.
It's that bit. Is that? When you hear that so many times, that's a segment I've wanted to do for a long time. Just really annoying YouTube ads. They get stuck in your head. Okay, another segment here, reasons to be grateful. Here's my reasons to be grateful. We have running water that comes through a tap. And I thought about this and I thought, man, you know, when you look in some parts of Africa and other parts of the world, but, you know, Africa, South America, they have such a difficult time to get water. They need to walk however many miles, fill it up somewhere. Hopefully the water's, you know what? We turn a tap and we get water. Gee, man, that's a reason to be grateful. I have a UCB reading for today. It used to be called UCB Word for Today. Now it's called Word for You. Now, I'm just going to read out the beginning. I haven't got time to read out the whole thing. Its title is, on Wednesday the 4th of Jan, which is today, This Year Think Possible. And then it says, without faith it is impossible to please him. I'll just read the beginning bit. That's from Hebrews 11 verse 6. The Bible says, without faith it is impossible to please him. Talking about God. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he, God, is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. That's verse 6 of Hebrews 11 from the Bible. Word for today, or word for the segment. Oh, I'm still working it out. Give me a break. Here's the word. Stochastic. How do you say it?
Stochastic.
That's how you say it. Stochastic. Having a random probability distribution or pattern that may be analyzed statistically but may not be predicted precisely. There's a reason why I picked that word. Yeah? Stochastic refers to property being described by random probability distribution. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. That's the word for... And the other thing is I've got my iPhone updated with the latest news. So talking about... with the latest update, iOS 16. So I'm now on iOS 16, and I'm now recording, and I now got a decent... I don't know, what is that? A decent 5 minutes. Decent 5 minutes to the news. So here's the news. This lady Over Christmas time, she said, if you don't pay by December the 1st, you're not coming. Gran says it's a no-brainer to charge her children for Christmas. I don't need to go into it. She charges her family, every member of the family. Even so, her thing, apparently the younger ones only get charged £5, but the adults get charged £10. For Christmas dinner, if anyone comes around to hers, you have to pay £10. Her family! Oh my goodness. Chinese New Year, guess what year it is? It's the year of the rabbit. So there you go. There's that one. How to finally break that bad habit. It's a new year. Everyone's going to be trying to break habits. Now, I won't go too much into it. But basically, looking at... So mostly it all comes down to the cues that lead you to perform the behavior. So basically saying... The first step to breaking the habit is the same as building one. Make a list of the behaviors that you want to stop doing, put them in priority order, and then it says, look at the environmental factors that lead to that habit and the triggers, and you basically avoid your triggers to avoid the habit. So I don't want to spend too much time. Top words, these 10 words have been banished for 2023. This is from a university, I forget which one now, in the US. Lake Superior State University started doing this since 1976. So here are the words that they're going to ban. I think it's just like a fun thing that they do, but some of them are quite... I kind of agree. You can't say inflection point. You can't say gaslighting. Quiet quitting. I don't know what that means. Moving forward. You can't say moving forward. Amazing. Yeah, I think that gets... That's amazing. Absolutely. Oh, that's the HelloFresh advert. That's another really annoying YouTube. Yeah? Is HelloFresh worth the price? Absolutely. It really annoys me. Does that make sense? You can't say, does that make sense? Irregardless. I think irregardless on there because it's not actually a word. And here's one. It is what it is. I've been saying it is what it is for a long time, actually, last year. I've been saying that too many times. So, yeah. They need to have the whole... Here's it. Over the years, others have included vis-a-vis. Vis-a-vis is a good one. Information superhighway. One of them they've got. I'm like. I was gonna say that. I've been saying that. I really hate the fact that I was like. Yeah, I hate that. So I agree with these guys on that point. Let's move on. Here's the 1p challenge backed by Martin Luther. Now here's the thing. If you start saving 1p every day. Yeah. So here's basically look what you have. You start with 1p. So on the 1st of Jan. Then 2nd of Jan, you save 2p. Then you add another, and you save 3 and 4, and cumulatively just keep adding up the pennies. And by day 100, or actually by the end of the year, you can have £667.95. Now, someone else came along and did it with 5p, and they said that you can get, according to this lady, where's the thing? £3,339. So, okay. The first King Charles coins have been released. There's a picture of that. Wow, I didn't get into any of the other amazing news stories that I have. Let's quickly do it. I think I can quickly squeeze it in. So, on a Toblerone bar, can you see where a bear exists on a Toblerone bar? If I show you, can you see the bear? There's a bear that exists on a Toblerone logo. Look. I never noticed that before. Yeah, companies are moving to a 4-day working week. That's another thing in the news. The future of work, what's in and out? AI is basically in and taking over. Nuclear fusion has been discovered as it could be fueling our energy. A comet is passing by, not seen since the last ice age. There's some space exploration missions. I didn't get a chance to do that. And let me just go forwards. Earth has now 8 billion people. And one of those is this guy. He says he can't get a job. Oh my goodness. You want to see what it looked like before? This is what it looked like. Right. Talk with Adam is coming up. I hope you enjoy. I'll be back to discuss after the break at the end of the... Anyway, you get what I mean. Enjoy the talk with Adam. I'll see you on the other side of that. And this is TAJ Talks. Hope you're loving it. All right. I got through the news. I did it. See you on the other side.
Welcome back to TAJ Talks. Here we go. You're in for a treat today. Today, we have special guest, Adam. Say hello, Adam.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, man. How's that headphone sounding?
It's good, yeah.
What, a little bit louder or a little bit quieter?
Maybe a little quieter.
Yeah, we are literally just setting this up as this is all on the fly. So, welcome, man. Yeah, welcome to TAJ Talks. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Like I said to you, I'll explain how it all works. I really don't even know how I'm gonna do the final edit with this, knowing that this isn't actually. So this is completely unplanned. Yeah. So whether this comes out as being a pre-recorded or what, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to find a way. But bear with me, everybody. I'm just gonna go through a few things with that. So it's a brand new thing for you.
Yeah.
First time guest.
Yep. First time on a podcast.
First time on a podcast. Never been on a podcast. Yeah. Okay. So just so you know, this is there's only one real limitation on this, which is no swearing.
Okay.
As much as possible.
Sounds good.
And you probably realise like that's a challenge as much. That's a challenge for me as much as it might be for you as well.
Yeah.
In our conversations that we were having yesterday, it's something that I have to practice. That's the first thing. The other thing is everything around you may look sturdy, but it's not.
All right.
So yeah, just be aware that wherever you put your, let me just set my levels. My levels looking good. Wherever you put your hands or whatever, I'm very expressionate with my hands.
Yeah.
It might go a little bit nuts if you hit certain things. And I think that's really it. Because aside from that, there's not. It's just a conversation. You watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
right?
A little bit. Yeah. Every now and then.
Have you heard of Jimmy Church?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so this is kind of like a combination. This is probably. The fact that I have like ad music and all the rest of it makes it more of a Jimmy Church type thing.
Right.
But then the actual conversations, which have no plan, no structure, makes it more of a Joe Rogan thing.
Okay.
So that's basically it. So I guess just to start, Adam, friend of Kyle, housemate, you're here visiting the UK, first time.
Yep.
How has it been going so far?
It's been a lot of fun. Just
bring that slightly closer to you. Yeah, don't worry about it. You can get that right up close. That's kind
of all right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Just kind of exploring the UK a little bit, and just all of Europe recently. Went to London, Windsor, saw the changing of the guards. Really wanted to leave a Declaration of Independence for the Queen, but she's not around.
No. I mean, the whole traveling thing was the UK, because you explained that you started this thing in July where you decided to go out your safety zones and just start traveling because your job, remote working, allows you to do that.
Yeah.
Was the UK one of those places that you went, I've definitely got to stop by the UK, or is it just kind of like, I have no idea where I'm going, I'm going to go to Europe, and let's see where I end up in Europe?
So, I am notoriously bad at planning things. Okay. So pretty much everywhere I've gone, so the original plan was I was going to go to Spain for the entire time.
Yeah.
And work on my Spanish. But then when I got over here, I got a little bit of wanderlust, and I saw a cheap plane ticket to Budapest.
Yeah.
So I hopped on a plane, went there for 2 weeks, hung out, went to Lake Balaton, all that good jazz.
Yeah.
And then I went to Romania, stayed there for close to a month, about 3.5 weeks. Then hopped over to Paris. Between that, I went to Austria for 2 days.
Man, so you'd really already just started the whole, hey, I'm just going to go start traveling.
Yeah.
You switched from the Spain plan to the traveling nomad plan pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And dude, it's been crazy. So I've never like done something like this for this amount of time ever.
Yeah.
And I knew very little about it. And so weird thing is, I decided I was gonna do it a week before I left.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, you're one of those guys.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, screw it, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
And so I buy my plane ticket, and the whole time, man, I've never really had a problem with anxiety, but I started getting nervous.
Really?
Yeah. The week leading up to it, I started second guessing myself, but the whole time I was like, no, you're going. So I just knew I needed to get on the plane and figure it out when I got there, and that's what I did.
Have you ever been abroad outside of the States before this?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So it's not about being out of the States. That was brand new
it was
to
just
you.
like it's been so like I've always lived really close to my family.
Yeah.
So like we all live in the same town.
Yeah.
So this is my first time really away for, I guess maybe not my first time, because I did a summer doing a fishing job in Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt different.
I guess it's the aspect where you were telling yourself, "I'm actually just going to go from one place to another place without any plan."
Yep.
That would make. I've told you when I heard you saying it, I was thinking, man, I've been thinking about something like this, and I could also do it just like you.
Yeah.
You were saying that your job gave you the option to do it, like you could feasibly do it. So you just thought, well, I think the way you described it yesterday is like you'd be an idiot if you didn't do it. Kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like lots of people would love to do it.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
Yeah.
But they never get the opportunity, and I've just been sitting on the opportunity for like close to a year.
Yeah.
And it's like monetarily feasible. My work schedule makes it so I can do that kind of stuff. I was like, I guess, yeah.
And here you are sitting in a podcast, which you didn't even plan to.
Yeah.
First time.
Here I am.
There we go. I mean, there you go, everyone. If you want inspiration, it's like one of those films. It's like the what was that, Walter Mitty or something? The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Yeah.
Which had a bit of a sort of Forrest Gump type kind of basis as well.
Yeah.
It kind of had like Forrest Gump just goes from one situation to another situation. He's just...
Yeah.
Hey, you could be. There could be a film at the end of this. You never know. Depends how crazy it gets.
Who knows? Yeah, my friend actually made a joke about that because, so the original plan was I was going to go to Spain.
Yeah.
And I was going to get there right in time for the running of the bulls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to go to that, but by the time I got there, I was like dead tired, and I was like, okay, yeah, no.
You've been doing this since July, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you had to put like just 3 really different experiences since July. Like big, like snapshot moments, like, wow, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. Right, and you can't say podcast, because I know podcast seems a little bit, that's another weird one for you. But something else, like, unusual. Like, what are the, so far, 3, like, just standout moments?
Let's see. Well, I hiked to top of wasn't a super tall mountain in Romania with a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
It's really funny. He showed up to visit me, and he had brought only Crocs with him. That's all he wore
for this hike.
For the hike, yeah. That's all he had. That's all he brought with him from the States. I was like, dude, you're crazy.
Okay.
So yeah, we did this hike up this mountain, and it was also a spur of the moment thing. We were just taking like a road trip.
Okay.
And I found a trail, and I was like, let's go summit this bad boy. And I was like, I mean, I understand if you don't, because you're wearing Crocs.
Yeah.
But he was down to do it. So we tried to get there, because the sun was setting as well.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so
one of those things.
We had to get up there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Hung out for about 30 minutes, and then came back down. So that was one.
Okay. Mountain in Romania.
Yeah. Man, there's so many. It's just like
hard to pick.
Yeah, I like so in Budapest, I worked out of a palace several days, because they one of their libraries is a palace. So that
you worked in a palace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So you're actually getting jobs in the local countries as well as your remote job?
No. So like since my my remote job is just like on a laptop. I can work from anywhere, and this palace is a library. It's a public library.
Okay.
If you ever go to Budapest, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would like take meetings from there and stuff.
What's the name of this place?
I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
It's yeah, let me look it up. It's really neat though.
Yeah. I need to go traveling again, man. I do have that feeling like I want to do more traveling. Like palace in Budapest.
Yeah.
Library.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's called the oh man, I'm gonna butcher the name. Sasebo Irvin Library.
Okay. I'm gonna get this up for everyone to see over here. So
SZABO
Sabo
and
Library. Should I just put
yeah. Yep, there it is, yep.
Whoa!
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
You were working here?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's also at the time the place I was staying didn't have AC, and this did. So it was right around the time we were having that heat wave.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. This was my shelter.
And it was nice and cool inside there.
Yeah.
Wow. It doesn't look like it would be. It looks like this is like old school, but it well, I suppose on the other side it probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like the palace is only part of it. It's really weird. You walk in and it's like a normal library.
Right.
And then you go up an elevator, turn a corner, walk through this room that's just still looks like a normal library. And then the next room just breaks off into this palace.
Yeah, because that looks more like
Yeah.
some sort of Buckingham Palace type
Yeah,
thing.
because I guess they built like the palace around the library around the palace.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's a pretty unique thing. Okay, and then the third one?
Man, third one, I guess maybe it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It was gonna be the volcano in Iceland. I was really looking forward to that.
Okay. But what do you mean was looking forward to? You're not doing it now?
Well, it stopped erupting.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, really?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
But isn't this like a really big event? Like they're saying that this is like the first time something's happening. So isn't it like it's just gone quiet a bit? It's going to come back again.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. I mean,
but you can't tell
who
when.
knows when?
Oh.
So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it starts back while I'm there, but
and that's coming up, and then you've got yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for making the time, man, to add this to your sort of experiences. And I'm gonna so the reason why there was one particular thing that you said yesterday, and I said to you, okay, you got to be on the podcast. You got to be on the podcast, and we need to just start talking about the logs now instead, because I can't keep having conversations with you now because I want to save it for the podcast. It was a great night actually. But so you're a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and just go back to the conversation and try and replicate the threads, but let's now expand freely.
All right.
You're a programmer. That's what you do. That's the remote job you do. And we were talking about how a wrinkle in Red Dead Redemption 2, right? You know, the cowboy game, how a wrinkle, the detail of an old man with skin and all the rest of it, and freckle, and all this detail, and then maybe a scar or a wrinkle in that computer game. That's actually a series of letters and numbers. Yeah. It's code.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we started talking about how, well, if you start to think about it, we started talking about this concept, like Ray Kurzweil talks about the singularity, the coming singularity. Yeah. Technology is going to get to such a place that we, especially with technology such as haptic feedback, so you can have the actual touch sensations as well, and the whole VR goggles, so we're moving in that direction very quickly. Yeah. And you were saying something about how actually singularity is a lot closer than we realize.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was saying to you, and I think I held myself back from saying this bit. There's two things. Okay. If computer games and the technology to make this, aside from the fact that this is just code, this is just a series of codes and letters that are making something appear as if it's a 3D person, a horse, the way smoke rises in a game, the way water ripples in a game, the sun reflects off it, and it looks so real these days. And then when you look around your own sphere and you just go, wait a second, this is almost indistinguishable. I mean, you still know to a certain extent, the human eye is picking out what's real, what's not real. But you must have heard of the simulation hypothesis.
Yeah, your classic Matrix.
Your classic Matrix story, right. And Ray Kurzweil takes it in another direction where he's saying that we can actually evolve human consciousness. Well, understand human consciousness to such a point that we can separate what human consciousness is and download it onto a computer or an AI machine basically, and then therefore humans escape the organic flesh which is decaying and live forever. As robots.
I don't actually disagree with that. I just think so. That's the one thing that it's just kind of hard to put a finger on, like what is consciousness. And so I will say this: I don't think humans have the capability, or will ever have the capability, of straight up creating life. However, I do think we, as science progresses, will be able to cut and paste. Cut and paste your being onto a computer or whatever, and store that wherever in a robot, wherever.
Okay, so cloning.
Yeah, so it's not cloning necessarily, because as notice I didn't say copy and paste. I said cut and paste. So you know how it's like copy and paste. You're just copying.
You're replicating.
You're replicating. You're making a second one. Cutting and pasting is where it's like you literally you cut it out, move it somewhere else.
You think that's where we're heading?
Yeah. No. I well, it's hard to say because the human brain is the one thing that we know basically nothing about. So we gotta that's a big hurdle to jump over first.
So is that, you mean in the sense of the human brain?
Yeah, I mean we just
physiologically, or the thoughts that exist in a human brain?
Well, all of it. So in order to do something like that, you have to structure thoughts in a way that thoughts become data, because you have to be able to. Essentially, you're just transferring data, and so you have to, I guess, engineer or reverse engineer thinking in a way that you could transfer it onto a computer or onto.
Would we ever, in that sense, then be? Because this was the comment you made yesterday, where you said I actually think that God. Correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but God might be some kind of really advanced AI.
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely is really advanced for sure. Just
right,
regardless. So. So one of the things I want to do when I go to heaven is study the science of miracles, because you think of a miracle just as a miracle, but there is something that goes on there. Like when someone gets healed, it's not magic. Their cells regenerate.
There's an actual process.
There's a process that happens. So the thing about God is so he is outside of these processes, but he operates with them. So like I was saying yesterday, so there's this thing in computer science called cellular automation. And then I did paper on it freshman year of high school, presentation with a friend, is simple deterministic randomness through cellular automation. And essentially what it is like, so if you could, like, think of something random like a leaf falling.
Okay.
You don't know where it's going to end up. You don't know which leaf's going to fall. But what if you started breaking that down, though, into things you could kind of understand and predict? So, like, what if you could break down and understand the tree itself? And so what if you could get to where you knew which leaf was going to fall? Okay, so that's a start. But then you start thinking about, you start adding in other factors that you can predict more, like gravity, and then which way the wind's blowing. And before you know it, you know where the leaf's going to fall, and it's suddenly not random anymore. So cellular automation essentially just works like that. You break things down as small as you can possibly break them down. And once you understand that, then you have these things called, in cellular automation, they're called neighbors. And once you understand, like, one cell, you understand the neighbors, and then you understand their neighbors. And then at the end of the day, you understand the entire system. And so that's how, like I was saying, I think that's how God predicts the future. Because he says that he knows the beginning from the end.
Right.
Scientifically, if you're going to try to explain it, I think that's the best way to explain it, is because, God, the Bible also says, he knows the number of hairs on your head.
Yeah.
So, like, he knows everything about you. And if you know everything about a system, you can predict what that system will do in the future.
So that's almost as if saying that nothing is by chance.
Oh yeah, no, that's
nothing.
No, I mean, so think about what random is.
Well, apparently randomness is not actually real.
No,
True randomness doesn't exist. Apparently.
It doesn't. Yeah, so like, and
you can replicate randomness.
And I mean, random and chance. What is casinos operate off of chance, which it boils down to randomness. So, and then there was actually not long ago, some researchers several years back came up with a system to predict how a dice would fall when you rolled a dice.
Right.
And they got it pretty accurate.
They could tell.
Yeah. Which side would face up, and there was a bunch of things that went into it, like the surface tension on the table,
air resistance,
the weight of the die, air resistance, all kinds of stuff.
Angle at which it fell.
Yep. But they just broke it down into things they could understand, and the more they understood, the more predictable the dice was, until they got fairly accurate with predicting how dice fell.
Do you know, this kind of makes me think, like, because I've thought about this concept of what seems supernatural. There's this theory of or concept of, like, the God of the gaps.
Yeah. So
that the more we have progressed with science, the more we have squeezed God. So the gaps of our lack of knowledge in past times was filled in by, oh man, what's that massive thing coming from that cloud?
Yeah.
Whoa, Zeus is throwing down some thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Okay. But then that domain of God, Zeus being the lightning bolt guy, got reduced. He could no longer inhabit that area of understanding once people started to understand what was electricity and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So there's this concept of, like, God has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller the more we know and progress. And the Bible does say a lot of stuff about seek for knowledge.
Yeah.
Seek for wisdom. Book of Proverbs. And in all of this, I wonder if, like, the scary implication of all of this is God may be just as kind of like, he may have a lot of power, but what if he himself, like, what if there's a God above him that he doesn't know about? So we've been, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think that the tricky thing about God is, like I said earlier, he exists outside of our universe. And if you think about our universe, that encompasses absolutely everything. So there's a theory that something can exist outside our universe is preposterous. It's crazy.
Right.
And it's something that we just can't understand because it's outside of a realm of understanding.
Right.
Which I think that's where God exists, and I think that's why, like, so I said yesterday, like, if you think about the concept of heaven,
right,
and heaven lasting forever,
yeah,
eventually you'll, because forever's a long time,
yes,
and eventually, like, unless God's creating new planets all the time, and maybe even then, you could have visited all of them, seen everything, like, seen every grain of sand, because forever's a long, long, long time. I mean, go as far as you think forever is, and then you're just getting started. So, to me, that would get boring. But I think the one thing that we'll always be chasing in heaven is God, and understanding God, because we'll never be able to quite grasp what's outside of the realm of our universe, our understanding.
So you think that no matter where we get in our knowledge and understanding, we actually can't get to the end of it. The limits are, and it's almost like within God, His being is limitlessness.
Yes, which is, I mean, so and then an easy analogy for this is, I guess not an analogy, but an easy concept is, okay, so God will exist for forever. We can kind of understand forever, in the future.
Yeah.
But God's existed forever in the past. Like, stop and think about forever in the past.
That's the bit that blows me.
That part's crazy.
I don't know what it is about the future bit, which seems more digestible and comprehensible. Mm-hmm. But the past bit, I think that becomes a little bit more tricky for me, because you start going, but wait a second. Where did it start?
Yeah.
Man, we'll pick this up after the break. Everybody, this is Adam with myself here, TAJ Talks, and we're going to carry on this conversation after the break. Hope you're enjoying it. Do you know what? I got a feeling, Adam, however long we do this for today, I think we're, again, only just going to scratch the surface here.
Yeah.
So, everybody, see you in another 2 minutes. Come back and we'll carry on the discussion. See ya. back. You're here with me, everybody, and Adam. And something a little bit different today. I was just saying to Adam, we've got to keep this to a certain time limit today because he's got to shoot. I've literally just grabbed him before he's heading out of the country. And I said, look, dude, we've got to do a podcast, and whatever we can get, we'll get. But another half hour to try and get the questions I have in my mind. I don't know how this is going to happen. Adam, it's great to have you here, though, man.
Thanks for having me.
Man, if there's some possibility of doing this again, you said you might be coming back and traveling, all the rest of it, then I hope this isn't the last time either.
For sure.
So it'd be great to have you, because I feel like I can really, like I said, I don't know which one to go for. All right, first thing I want to say is Jesus, miracles, nothing's random, everything's designed. Doesn't that kind of fit into the concept then that free will and our choice is... So basically we don't have free will. We that fits into a more deterministic model of the world, almost Calvinistic, predestined kind of thing.
So, yeah. So my thought on that is I do think we have free will. And I think that's what's unique to humans, honestly. So notice, so I should have explained better that you can accurately predict the future, but there's still error.
Right. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I think one of the things we'll do when we go to heaven is constantly try to understand our own brain, because right now our understanding of our brain is about the same as it was 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Like, we understand so little about it.
And if you follow the biblical narrative, it's not even the brain that was originally meant, it's a fallen brain according to the biblical narrative.
So that's an area that I think, like, I don't understand at all.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I should say is this is everything I've said is just kind of conjecture. It's
of course, this is your own musings,
So I think if you, so like I was saying about Facebook and Instagram, their whole data thing.
Yeah.
So they can collect enough data on you. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but sometimes you'll think something and you'll see an ad for it. You won't say it out loud, but you'll think it and see an ad for it. And that's just because computers are unique from humans in the sense that they remember things. They remember everything.
Yeah.
So they're watching you, recording everything you do, everything you talk about, everything you type in, and that's a lot of data.
Yeah.
Like over the years, that compounds into a lot of data. Like they probably the algorithm for Instagram and Facebook probably knows more about me than I know about me. I mean, I know it knows more about me than I know.
Well, you were saying yesterday the algorithms are so advanced now that it's actually almost able to predict what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
That's almost surreal.
Yep.
It's obviously not. It's obviously the device is obviously not reading your mind.
Yeah.
But then what is it reading if it's able to predict your thoughts and your actions before you actually do them? What is it picking up on? Like how many times you start picking up your phone at a certain point of the day? When it's lunchtime or something?
That's probably part of it. Like I said, there's been a lot of discussions by very smart people on how they can steal the maximum amount of your attention they can take.
Yeah.
And then part of that is learning as much about you as a consumer that they can possibly learn. And it's not necessarily the person learning it, but it's the algorithm learning it. And it takes all kinds of stuff into account. Like when you look at your phone, how long you look at your phone for, what you're looking at, what your reaction is, how long you're staying on one thing versus something else. If you come back to it later, if you save it, if you like it, whatever. It's learning. It's constantly, always learning about you. And it eventually, so if you look at old couples, they can kind of predict what each other's going to do because they live with each other for forever.
Finishing each other's sentences, that whole thing.
That whole idea. Yeah, so
he's not obviously reading the other person's mind as a couple, but you know enough about their past words, and it's like you said, you start typing 3 letters, predictive text, whatever, and the thing knows Because
it kind of knows what you're looking for, because we're creatures of habit. So you're not necessarily, I guess, you're not predicting the future. You're just kind of saying, well, this is what they did in the past. This is what they're likely to do now.
Okay, maybe, because I understand that bit when you tie that into, like, God also being like that.
Yeah.
But maybe what we're doing with technology and all that is replicating.
Yeah, we're doing the dumbed down version.
We're doing a dumbed down version of what God does.
Yeah.
But then this comes back to your point of like trying to understand what really is behind miracles.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do think that there's a point. Well, you know.
I mean, there's science that goes on behind miracles.
Right.
Like, you can't. When someone's healed,
that's biological
cells start reproducing.
Right.
Like they start dividing, and like that is science. Like there is stuff that goes on there. It's just you can't really study it because miracles are seemingly random. I guess not random, but it's like you can't do that in a lab. You can't reproduce a miracle in a lab.
You know, that kind of makes me think, like it says, in him was life, and that life was the light. That in him was light, and that was in him was life, and that was the light of men. In John, it says in the open chapter of John about Jesus. He was the Word became flesh, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, even that, the Word became flesh.
Yeah.
You think about the Word, what Word really means. So I think, as I was saying to you yesterday, one of the things that Ellen White talks about, she says that in the future, when we are there and we are just, no sin, new world, new heaven, new earth, what will be the science of the future of that heaven? She was saying that the science is actually going to be, and it's just going to be as legit as the science of studying physics and chemistry and maths, which we'll probably still do then.
Yeah.
But that will probably just be basic science.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that'll be definitely basic science.
That'll be basic science. But then she says the real science is understanding the cross.
Yeah.
And I think when you understand the cross, what happened in that moment, like actual like science behind it, the transferal of human sin, the sins of a soul, of a being onto Jesus, and then what he did with it on the cross, which we just saw on the outside, those, well, not us, but those who were standing there saw a guy just suffering on a cross, being like, wow, he's thirsty. He's suffering a lot. But on the inside, he was, she says that the pain that he was going through transcended the physical pain because it was so much more painful on a spiritual level. So whatever was happening there, and that's my theory about, I think there was even something about parallel worlds in that. I think there's something about what Jesus did. If the physics is correct, and then they are genuinely saying that there's a possibility of parallel worlds, and that this comes a bit back to your whole thing about randomness, chances, probability. What if you chose to not cross the road that day as opposed to crossing the road that day and then getting hit?
Yeah.
And you got two different parallel worlds and possibilities. Well, what if Jesus actually was able at the cross for whatever reason, or for some point in the life of Jesus, maybe in the resurrection, I don't know, because there's a whole thing about the resurrection. That's where the power is.
Yeah.
Was able to then have claim to be like, I'm going to redeem my own from every single possibility. So when you make a bad mistake and you think there's no way back for me, but you then take it to the Lord, and he's like, do you know what? Just like I could stop the sun in the sky, I can actually shift your consciousness from one parallel world to another parallel world. I don't know if that's me thinking way too far, a bit too crazy, but there's something about the whole the power that is within Jesus. Like, people are reaching out and touching the robe, not even his flesh, and being healed.
Yeah.
So what is faith? Is there a science behind faith? But like, again, mate, I'm trying to race through my thoughts and my things and trying to get to the next thing. I want to ask you a question. Have you heard of David Gates, Professor David Gates?
I haven't, no.
Have you heard of the superstring theory error correcting codes?
No.
Professor David Gates, he's this dude over here, and I want to be really quick about this. Record, and we're here. So, Dr. David Gates. This dude. Oh, James Gates, sorry. Maybe he's not even. Well, he must be Doctor. This guy. Now, this guy, he looks almost like Einstein. You got a sort of. I love his hair, man. This guy discovered something.
He gives off like a smarter Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. this guy discovered something. He said, and I need to check for the details on this properly, but something along the lines of, he was studying string theory and supersymmetry string theory, something like that.
Yep.
So you're studying the nature of the world, and you know, there's a whole thing about string theory is the new understanding theory. He, in his paper, he seemed to stumble upon something that is in the maths that underlies string theory. He found a code, a programming code in the maths. But the programming code, he said, is exactly the same as a programming code. It's an error correcting code that underlies HTML websites. It literally, he said, you can take that code, and he said it's the exact same code that's in our websites.
Yeah.
To some extent. I don't know if it's a small part or a massive part, but he found something in there. And he just said, that makes me think we are part of some kind of computer program.
Yeah, I mean, so if you think about, like, in a sense we are. So the human brain's just essentially like a supercomputer.
Right.
And it goes back to, like, we don't understand the human brain, but if we did, we could do things like transfer consciousness to an actual computer.
Okay.
So you think about, like, how you perceive reality. It's the same way a computer would perceive reality, except just times a billion. So, you know, you look at things and you process color, like light, sound, whatever, touch. So it's the same way, like in a video game, a computer is processing, like, the wrinkles on a character's. I mean, your brain's doing that in reality. So they're very similar, but just one's way more advanced than the other.
Wait, the brain is the one that's doing the processing.
Yeah.
So, wait a second. So where is the observation actually occurring? In here, or as a result of a code that is objectively outside of you?
So there's the processing. So we are bound by physical law, like laws of physics.
Yeah.
Which are changing over time, kind of. But we are bound to that. We're just processing what we can in that space. So, and this is why I kind of have a hard time with, like, parallel universes, because by definition that just can't happen.
Yeah, okay.
Because if the universe is everything that we understand,
yeah,
physical, whatever, then these parallel universes would be just in our universe.
Well, apparently someone was also saying there's not enough mass and matter to allow for parallel universes. Because I sit on both sides. I sit on the fence, I should say. And I look at the theories, and I'm like, some people say, and in the simulation, the hypothesis, and blah, blah, parallel worlds. But then the other side, people have said, it's a theory, and it's really not feasible. Something about the energy that is available in all of the universe.
Yeah.
It's just not enough to be replicated. You couldn't replicate it.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Nick Bostrom? This was one of the things I was going to say yesterday.
I haven't, no, yeah.
Okay. Nick Bostrom said, he's a simulation hypothesis guy. He did it as an Oxford PhD kind of thing. He done a thing. He was trying to explain this to Joe Rogan. It's a classic one, by the way, because Joe Rogan was just staring at him for ages, like, but I don't, and he kept circling around. Joe Rogan just kept going back to, but why? Nick Bostrom said, and by the way, do you watch Lex Friedman's podcasts?
I don't know.
You should check out Lex Friedman. You really enjoy Lex Friedman, I think. And Lex Friedman had Nick Bostrom on, and Lex Friedman has a background in AI. And when Nick Bostrom explained it to Lex just got it and just moved on. But anyway, I still love Joe. He was explaining something, Nick Bostrom. He said, there are certain things that would make it very likely that we are in a simulated world. And he laid out a certain set of criteria. One of them, he said, was the fact that we would get to a point where we could genuinely see sort of realistic computer simulations. That was just one of them. He had another two others. One of his things, though, he said, statistically, he said, if human civilization in one sort of like the original, let's say, actual human civilization was developing, growing, got to a point of technology and developed very advanced computer programs so they can replicate actual life.
Right.
He said, what would have happened then is that there would have been, you wouldn't just create one program. We would have created so many different programs. Like it just would have spawned so many.
Yeah.
Because if you can do it, one person will do it, another person will do it. And so you would have lots, a bit like the metaverse. You've got, Facebook wants to do its version, then you've got Roblox and all this kind of stuff, and all these different versions of this thing. So he was saying that once we got to that point, there would just be so many. Then he said, the chances of us being in the original version, when you consider how many other versions there are, once we've got to that technology, he said, statistically, the chances that we are in the original are so minuscule because there would be so many.
Yeah.
So he was saying, take this as an example. He was like, let's say you got all the human history. Now we just go to the normal human history thing. What are the chances that you were the part of the first 10 people to ever have been created? As opposed to being right there in the middle, maybe you were the 1 millionth, 2 billionth person, whatever, of all human history. And then it got me thinking, wait a second. When we talk about the end times, what are the chances that we are in that very, very last generation? I mean, of all the times that we could have been born, we could have been born like in the middle, Henry VIII times. I mean, that seems more like, that's just... But we are... Okay, then I start going, well, according to his simulation hypothesis criteria, that equally applies to then, wait a second, even more evidence, like, I've been born into a time when there's actually a lot of peace. When you look back in world history, you see a
bloody
lot of blood.
Yeah.
And you go, most of human history has been very bloody. I've been born into a period of time which is really not that bloody.
Yeah.
And then you start going, wait a second. What if I am actually sitting somewhere with goggles on and I'm just going through like a little, and what if I've kept playing, what if human civilization got to a point where they created these things, almost like that was part of the second coming in the original world. And Jesus decided in this new kingdom, he was like, okay, you all weren't ready when I came kind of thing, but I've redeemed you all, but you all still need to be made ready. So he opens up like VR headsets and he just says to everyone, hey guys, you're going to go into your virtual world and replay not all of human history. You're not going to go back to the French Revolution. You're going to go back to, you're just going to go to the end of time because that was when you failed to make the right decisions the first time round. And so then what we do is that we're all just coming back into this simulation of the end moments. But what if this is the whole thing about reincarnation. So people keep talking like from my dads and a lot of people that I know who don't believe in sort of one life, one existence, and they believe that we're past lives. What if that is what's going on? I don't know if there's a question here. That's just me just throwing that out there and just going, what I was going to say to you yesterday about Nick Bostrom saying that we could be in a simulated world, and me going, we're living in some pretty interesting times, which we were talking about yesterday. I don't know what your thoughts. Like I said, there's no question in that. It's just...
So, I think it's kind of we live in a simulated world. So if you think about the whole Great Controversy, that's kind of the simulation playing out. The question was posed: is God just? Is God fair?
Right.
And God said, instead of just ending it right there, he said, let's let it play out.
Right.
So in a way, I mean, if you think what a simulation is by definition, you're letting something, you're simulating something, letting it run and seeing what happens. Whereas God could have just said, no, you're wrong, and now you die. But he didn't, which is awesome for us.
Right.
But back to like the laws of like physics.
Yeah.
So the problem with, and you mentioned this earlier, like the problem with creating another universe or something like that.
Yeah.
It breaks at least our understanding of physics. The whole energy can't be created, just transferred.
Right.
So in order to have the energy to create another universe, you can't create that. That's the one thing that I think that is unique to God, is God can create whatever energy he wants.
And perhaps even, would you say even go as far as he can also destroy energy? Because I think that's...
Yeah.
Isn't that when he says his strange work, when he destroys...
Mm-hmm. So I don't think we are capable of that. Therefore, like humans couldn't create, like full on alternate realities.
We couldn't.
No.
Okay. All right. I have to park that one there. I got so many other things, but okay. All right. We'll have to pick this up next time. Sorry, everyone. I've got 1,000 questions as well. I wanted to carry on. This is going to go off into, because this is the last segment, right? We've got like 10 minutes left.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Time flies.
It really does. So, man, there's just so many things about the digital thing that I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to ask you, like, do you think, I need to fit 2 things in. I want to talk WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, all that kind of stuff, right? But let's leave that to it, because more importantly for me right now, since we're talking about it, do you think that what we are experiencing now in terms of high tech,
Mm-hmm.
do you think we are just getting a taste with actual physical technology of the kind of reality that God inhabits and angels inhabit, and angels are almost in the unfallen reality? That what we're doing, almost like we were talking about replication before, we're just imitating through our technology of AI and blah, blah, blah. That, you know, we talk about angels with wings, or angels who can like appear and disappear. But wait, what if they're appearing and disappearing because they're wearing a cloaking device?
Yeah.
You know, so what do you think about like technology? Do you think God is almost like a spiritual machine?
For sure. So like if you think about like even disappearing and reappearing, something happens there. Like something happens.
Right.
And that's the whole, like, if you think about, like, science is just studying what's happening there.
Yeah.
So, like, just with, like, disappearing and reappearing, there is something going on. Like, they are manipulating matter somehow. We just don't know how. Like, that's the difference between, like, magic and science is, you know, magic, you say, whoa. And then science is, okay, well, that's cool, but I want to do it.
Here's
so
how. And here's how.
Yeah.
You think, so you'd say magic is more a trick?
Yeah, no, all magic is just a trick. Magic's just stuff we don't understand. It's stuff we don't understand.
But Pharaoh's court and the magicians that were standing there next to Moses doing their tricks with the serpents or whatever, you think that was a trick? Or that was also calling upon an actual supernatural power?
I think that there was a supernatural power involved, but the supernatural power was just playing a trick. So if you think about, so God's the only one that can create life and destroy life, therefore he can raise people from the dead and stuff. So if you look at the Witch of Endor, when Solomon went to the Witch of Endor, and she brought back
Samuel,
it wasn't Samuel. It was a trick. So the supernatural was there, and that the demon was playing as Samuel, but it was regardless still a trick.
Lying signs and wonders. So this is coming back to like actually anything that we do, or even say in the demonic realm, Lucifer, fallen angels, they are actually using technology, whatever, to make it appear as if it's a real supernatural thing. But you're saying, because like Jesus just walked through a wall after his resurrection. He wasn't like wearing some high-tech gear.
Yeah.
So whatever he was doing was like the real deal.
Yeah, no, Jesus, I think, is the one person that can kind of, like God, Jesus, the one person that can kind of just do straight up magic, because he's not bound to our. He's not bound to our universe really, like because in order to, if you think about to create a universe, you can't create something while being in it.
Yeah.
You're the one creating it. You have to be outside of it. You have to go get the materials and stuff. So I think God is the one person that does just do straight up magic, because he doesn't have to abide by any of the laws of physics or any of that.
He does straight up magic in the sense of this when you say straight up magic, like miracles are the real deal, as opposed to fake tricks. We're literally coming to the end now, and I think this is going to be the last. You can't go on much longer than this, yeah. So I did get to the Julian Assange thing, but I just want to say, I think, it's coming out. I don't really know how to. I want to ask about the Julian Assange thing. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Bradley Manning. Let's just put it very simply. Do you think we have seen the depths of that Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, or is there more to come from what they've discovered?
So the government is sneaky. I think that there's more to that, but also I think there's also way bigger things. So like the technology we have now as consumers, it's like lagging far behind what's actually out there.
So we're about to see, perhaps...
Yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah.
Lying signs and wonders.
Yeah.
Everybody, that's the end. I had to do this. I had to capture this in some way. And I'm so glad that you came. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, so good. Man, I hope we can do this again. Let me know, obviously, through Kyle, I'm sure. We'll be able to do this again if you come back soon. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, everybody, that's it. And I don't know where this is going to fit in terms of the overall show. But I've got this. I'm going to keep this in store, and I'm going to bring it out at some point. Say your goodbyes to Adam.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see you. I'll see you again, perhaps after the break. I don't know what I'm doing now. See you in 2.
Welcome back to TAJ Talks. And you're now back with me after the interview with Adam. And this is the bit when I'm just going to break down everything that we just heard. Kind of. Because there's so much. I'll do my best. It's time for TAJ Talks. Or what I could really call, maybe I should call this, TAJ Thoughts. You like what I did there? Oh man, I've had my screen messed up. I'm gonna edit that out. You won't be able to see that. TAJ Thoughts. Here we go. Yeah, TAJ Thoughts. Time for us to go into this thing now, man. So, in the intro, and I got to be quick because I did that intro segment and I ran out of time so quickly, man. I would have had more time for the news. You know how long I spend lining up the news, and then I don't even get a chance to go through half them. So anyway, let's carry on. Now, in the intro, I mentioned Ray Kurzweil. Yeah. So everything that you just heard that me and Adam were talking about is Ray Kurzweil. Now, who is Ray Kurzweil? Let's have a quick look into who Ray Kurzweil is. If I remember where I was. Okay. So Ray Kurzweil is this dude. That's Ray Kurzweil. Okay. And you can see some of his books, The Age of Spiritual Machines. That's the one I've already mentioned before. The Singularity is Near is another one. I forget which one. I think that's in Singularity is Near where he first proposed the idea or the prediction that by 2045 the singularity will have arrived. I think it was an Age of Spiritual Machines where he said 2029 to 2030 was when Turing test would be passed and we would start merging with computers as human beings. He's got a few other books. So that's Ray Kurzweil. Go and check him out on Lex Fridman. There is a talk with him on Lex Fridman's thing. He's got a few videos there, actually, Lex has. And you'll see Ray Kurzweil talking to Lex about this concept of the singularity and all the rest of that. Let me just see what's the next thing. Yeah, so that's basically him. So he's really what Ray Kurzweil's really talking about is Ray Kurzweil, and I can just see. By the way, oh yeah, there you go. There's Ray Kurzweil there. I was waiting for Lex to actually switch over to him. Wow, come on, Lex, move over to. We've seen enough of your face. There we go. Yeah, there's Ray Kurzweil. So Ray Kurzweil's really what he's talking about. He's talking about the exponential evolution. Evolution, that's the key word here. He's talking about the exponential evolution of humans and how we're heading in a direction where humans merge with computers and technology so that humans become something beyond human. And when I say exponential, what I mean is that he's talking about with technology, you get a certain amount of growth that comes from the benefit of technology. And there's something that starts to accelerate. The more technology you produce, the faster things get. It's a bit like the chips, the IBM chips or whatever, Intel chips. The faster a chip gets, the more you can do. The more you can do, the more you can create better chips. And so it's kind of like a stacking effect. Well, really what the word is, exponential effect. And that's why Ray Kurzweil is saying is that once you start going to a certain point of technology, things take off so rapidly. Very interesting, by the way, because it says that, I think it says in the Bible, actually, talking about men shall run to and fro, knowledge shall increase. Oh, no. Well, the words of Ellen White, she says, when the final events happen in Earth's history, she says that they will happen rapidly. So things will happen really quickly. And it's kind of fitting into that idea. Although Ray Kurzweil is talking about it in an evolutionary sense of human beings transcending what they are, really transcending their mortality and living forever in a new form of human-computer hybrid. When you read this book, I'm telling you, when I started getting to the end chapters of this book, my goodness, man, the things he's talking about, it's definitely we are definitely going down. We're definitely talking philosophy here, but we start going down the realms of theology and spirituality. That's why it's called the Age of Spiritual Machines. This copy of this book is so reflective. But with one of the things that comes with the conversation about this kind of idea is the problem of I've forgotten what the guy's name now, but there's a guy who coined the phrase the hard problem of consciousness. And that's the thing where no one could really identify what consciousness actually is. But it's so crucial because consciousness starts to move towards the realm of perhaps the soul. Because now, I don't know how I should do this. Adam seemed to have known about these topics and conversations without actually really having been aware of certain names. I was surprised he didn't know Lex Friedman, and I was surprised he didn't know who Nick Bostrom was or even David Gates. I didn't ask him if he knew who Ray Kurzweil is. I just assumed. I think I mentioned Ray Kurzweil's name in the interview, but in the talk. But not an interview, it's too formal. But when we had the conversation, he had so many ideas that Ray Kurzweil was talking about already. So whether he knew Ray Kurzweil or not, Adam has been thinking about this stuff, and I loved that. It was an amazing conversation. Now, one of the things that we were talking about, and you can tell that Adam knows really the nuances of it, because I said, oh yeah, so you're talking about cloning, because if we can replicate consciousness, we work out what human consciousness is, and in the line of argumentation of Ray Kurzweil, you can then transfer your consciousness from a decaying organic matter onto an everlasting metal robotic character, or even more than metal. I don't know what that's where it gets weird in his book when he starts going into. You got to read it. It's a really mind-blowing book. But Adam made the distinction. He said, notice I didn't say cut a copy and paste. I said cut and paste. So Adam is actually saying, yes, he thinks it is possible for us to move the consciousness of a human being on to... Well, now there are many things that Adam is saying, actually, which, we definitely need to do the conversation again. But what I'm saying is, what you start to see is the mixture of technology and spirituality coming together. And it's a mixture of God and science, faith and science. So when you start to consider this topic, you start to realize that not only is it not just overthinking, people often say to me, you think too much. And I disagree with that. I don't think you can ever think too much. God's given you a brain. If you're not thinking with it, give your brain back to God, if that's possible. But no, you can't overthink things too much. You have been given a brain, you think things through, and that's one of the reasons why we live in an age where people have so much knowledge now, so much potential access, so many questions that come out from the knowledge, and I say we, man, at the end of last season, I probably wasn't going to say we, but we as believers, we believe in God. You can't prove God, but we believe that there's a God. We should know the reasons why we believe in God. And especially in this climate, because I'm telling you, one of the things that led to my crisis of faith was just, again, I've been here many times before, just questioning these things in science, in the experiments and research, and you got to power through that. But anyway, so I think it's something that we should do. Anyway, so there are two types of I would say there's two types of AI based upon what Adam said something. He said God is definitely advanced for sure. So, when we talk about AI, we could be talking about artificial intelligence, or we could be talking about if it's not artificial, it's the original. And if the original is the one that created the artificial, then the original has advanced intelligence. The scary thing with all this is that what happens if the creation overtakes the creator? Oh, now that's interesting. Isn't that exactly what the Greek myths were talking about? When all these sons of the gods have a son, and the son turns on the god and comes out of his belly. They always turn on the gods. I don't know. Anyway, let's not go into that. But we've got these two things about intelligence and God. If he is, I'll get into that later on. As I say, there's so many things to say, but there's so many implications from what Adam was talking about when he was talking about the cellular automation process. So what he was saying was cellular automation. He was saying that you can work out everything that's happening on a cellular level. You can work out what a cell is going to do, why it's going to do it, and all the rest of it. And he says you can work out what the wider system is going to do, of which that cell makes up a part of. And this one thing here, the cellular automation, it led me to so many things. As I was preparing for this podcast, I had so many ideas that will come into my head. And one of them, okay, let me just lay out 3 things, and I'm going to cover them in 3 sections. Free will and choice is what comes out of an analysis of this cellular automation. Predictions and future is the second thing that comes out of it. So is it God or is it gods? Capital G or lowercase and plurals, anyway. And then another thing that comes out of this, third thing, is the science of miracles. So let's talk about free will and choices. And this came up when we were talking about the dice. So the dice traditionally is kind of like associated with luck and chance. But when we were talking about the way that you can, like the cellular automation thing, you can go down to the very narrow, specific things that make up the system, and then you can predict what that system is going to do. And the same thing, I found that fascinating when he was talking about the dice, and they can work out which way a dice will land. Like, you wouldn't think that was possible, but apparently with all those different variables, you can work out which way the dice is going to land. Now, the dice, as I say, is usually associated with chance, luck, but when you look at it and you go behind that and you go, actually, no, it's not luck and chance. It's actually controllable. You can actually predict what the dice is going to do. So then you go, wait a second, and the opposite might be true. Then everything is predetermined, perhaps. If everything is kind of predictable to a certain extent, then everything is it fate and destiny then? Are we living in a predetermined world? In the theological sense, is it predestination? So the smallest change in a variable of the dice, let's say, the smallest change can lead to a prediction of outcomes. Now, this kind of brings me back to what me and Pavle were talking about in season 1, when we were talking about, well, no one is really evil. No one is really doing anything because they are evil. They're doing it because they think that's the best thing for them. And why they do, and I'm not sure I agree with that, but why people end up doing things that they do, I still think that people are doing things because they have what seems to be fixed. I wouldn't say variables because that's an oxymoron. A fixed variable doesn't exist. But people think that there are certain things that have affected their lives from their past, and they think that they are fixed. And that's just the way I am. And that person made me upset, so now I'm going to be horrible to everybody. And that's just the way I am. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to do the best. I'm trying to protect myself from the cold, harsh world that exists out there. But what if those parameters can be changed? What if, more than that, what if it's you that has the power to change the variables, the parameters that you think are fixed? So it's a bit like what I was talking about with Auntie Heather as well in the second talk with Auntie Heather, talk number 9. Are we going to be enslaved by the events of our past, or are we going to look at our past and say, I am no longer going to allow that past to dictate who I am, and I'm not going to let the past cause me to go down a certain path, which I'm going to say, but they did that to me, and that's just the way I am, whether you are conscious of it or not. Do we have the power to change what we are doing? Now, think about, I've really rushed through this segment because I'm halfway through. Now, think about yourself when it comes to your own variables. I've been thinking about this a lot. In fact, I was saying in the beginning, in the introduction, I was having a crisis of faith. I forgot to say in the beginning, I really didn't get a chance to sleep much. I've been having broken sleep. I've really been having a lot on my mind in so many things, so many spheres. And one of the things that has been literally keeping me up at night sometimes, I will wake up at night and I'll just have thoughts about where I am in life right now, why I'm where I am in life right now, and then I'll have like flashes of memories from the past of people and events and things that happened. On some of those occasions, I feel angry about what happened to me. On other occasions, I feel guilty because of what I did. And I'm just looking at it, and I was looking at it all, and I'm just going, wow, what would have happened if that event didn't happen? Or what would have happened if I never, went with those kids to the lunch break, to that house, and then we ended up doing stupid things that we shouldn't have done, because that led to something else. And then you just start looking at the knot, and then I started going and look at all the variables that could have diverted my path. What if I decided to not go at that lunchtime, and I said to them I had a bit more of a strength of character, and I didn't conform to the peer pressure, and I just went, no guys, I don't want to do that. I'm staying here at school for lunch. You guys can all go back to his for lunch, but I'm staying here. I remember that lunch. Wow. Because that led to experimentations with things, man. Anyway, and I think about the variables, so many variables that have affected my life, shaped me, that have made me then, and they all stack upon each other. They make me the person I am today. But then I was also thinking this thing like, wow, no wonder I'm here where I am. When I think about, things that I didn't even have the choice in, like what part of London I was brought up in, the schools I went to, the schools and the people that were in those schools. I've been thinking about this a huge amount, the people that you have around you. You have to be so aware of the influences around you and where little seeds, little ideas, little things that you do, it can lead you into a new way of looking at yourself, to looking at your approach to the world. And I think about the school that I wanted to go to. I'm talking about secondary school. And I was thinking, what would have happened if I went to that secondary school with different people around me? Maybe ultimately it would have been worse, or maybe it would have not been no better. At the end of the day, I'm the one who's going to make a choice one way or another, but I do think that environment plays a part in what happens to the choices we make. And if you're in a good environment, healthy people around you, chances are, throw the dice, chances are you're going to make better choices. But if you're in a situation, and I kept thinking about, I was like, wow, and that happened in secondary school. And then in secondary school, they put me in a certain group I came from, and I had good marks. I knew I was in the top groups of school, but I must have been part of a group that was like overspill from my primary school. Oh, this is really a tangent. This is a tangent. I'm not going down there. But anyway, I ended up, for unknown reasons, being put in a certain group of kids at school, which when I was there, I was coming back home and I was like, Mum, and I said to my brother, I was like, these kids they're really just wild, man. I was like, I hate this school. Like, these kids are these are bad kids, man. And I was thinking, why am I in that? And then so in my form group, and then I was like, but then why were my actual classes that I went to, my separate subjects, I was in the top classes with the studious kids. And I worked out, I was like, the school must have put me in that particular group because they had too many students. And the reason why I know that is because when they came to you had like trip days, you'd have like an end of the term, and you'd all go on trips, and you just have like a week of fun. And I would always end up, for some reason, being put in with all the kids in the it was like bands, we call them bands. And I always end up joining the kids in the smarter kids. They were all smart kids, really geeky. There was the geeks, there was the guys in between, and then there was the kids that really were just troublemakers. And I was in the group with the ones in between. But when it came to like these fun weeks, I was like, why am I spending time with the geeks? I've spent all year with the kids who are like in the middle. We know how to have fun, but we also know how to do our work. So I was thinking to myself as I was lying, I was like, I wonder if I was meant to have been in that group, but they just like, for whatever. Anyway, my point is, what about these variables and things that could have made your life different? And then here's the thing. What are the variables in your life right now? I'm really making a conscious decision in 2023 to be conscious. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to be very conscious in 2023 because I'm aware of influences and potential for where the future can go. So if you can change the variables of a dice and you can make the dice roll as a 6 rather than as a 2, just by changing a few variables, look at your own life right now. What are the things that you think that you could change? Because in that case, just because you could predict it, it still doesn't mean that it's predestined. What it actually says is that you are in control of your choices, and you have an amazing power to change your outcomes. What is nothing is written in stone in that sense. So I don't think that the world is hardwired. Everything's written for you already, or destiny's been written by God above, the gods. No, I don't. I think that you can change. You can change your future. So in whatever situation you're in now, 2023, start of a new year. What a great time to actually have this kind of conversation, talking about this stuff. Because if you think you can't change your future, you can. You have to look at the variables, but you have to change. You have to tweak certain variables, like that dice. You got to change the angle at which the dice is about to be thrown. You got to change maybe the room temperature, the air resistant, whatever, the flick of the wrist. Look at your own life. I think I've laboured this point too much by talking about my school, but anyway, this whole thing makes me think also about what is it that, if we talk about what Jesus is offering, he's offering a new life. And not only that, because you may be living your life right now thinking, I cannot change certain things. Listen, I might be able to try harder and, I don't know, work harder at work or something, like, or I don't know, change my career, or I don't know, do better with my podcast. I can there's other things. Those are variables that you think you can change, right? They're changeable. It's effort, it's hard work, but you think you can. Even that, So what is Jesus offering, though? There are some things in your life that you know that you cannot change. And they're probably things that you could change, and they're probably tied to things in the past. But you have been so hurt or so affected that you don't even know why you do hurt. I don't even know. When I talk about my crisis of faith that I've been having recently, and as I've been going into this new year, I've really been thinking about so many aspects of myself that I just think this is going to be impossible. I know I need to change. It's going to be impossible. I've really been convicted is the word. I don't feel guilty in that sense. Like I have been going through something that has been making me feel convicted about certain things. And here's the thing. I know I don't have the power to do it. I don't have the power to do it. Now, when you think about what Jesus is offering a chance for a new life. This is going to get very theological and very spiritual, but Jesus is offering, he's saying, listen, let me live within you and I'll live out your life for you. This is why the whole thing about your will and God's will need to be one. But your will outside of Jesus is in opposition to his will, to God's will. You're always clashing. What can change the heart of a man? It's a miracle. It really is a miracle. We'll talk about miracles later. So new possibilities can happen, but it takes a process of renewing your mind, your thought process, and that takes a long time. And again, that is also down to this whole thing about the variables in your head, the variables that you think are in your head, or the fixed variables, if you want to say. So I don't think this can change. So yeah, that whole thing about the dice was it just did so many things. It just, because, so I want to, okay, you got to forgive me, because there's so many thoughts that I've had about this particular conversation that I've had with Adam. I want to kind of go back to that cellular automation thing and the things that indicates. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay away from that. Okay, so that's the first thing that came from the talk with Adam. That was the first thing that really stuck in my head. Now, there's a quote from a guy called Chuck Missler. And Chuck Missler, and I'm coming to the end of this segment. I really should have done more news. I might go back to the news headlines. Chuck Missler had this quote, and he said something along the lines of, every choice that you make today determines where you will spend in eternity. So that's another thing. We're every day we are getting a chance to redo the way that we're doing life. I was saying this to a guy at work. You know, a new year comes along, and when you start a new year, you really do feel like New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna start fresh, and you really do feel fresh because you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna do. And you start off with high hopes and high expectations, and then things start to slide very quickly. In some cases, especially with gym memberships, apparently. So I hear. I'm not one for gyms, so I don't even bother. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of standing there running on a treadmill when I could be out running. Not that I'm out running either, so I'm not trying to say that going to the gym is wrong. I'm just saying that I'm lazy. So yeah, Chuck Missler says this thing about, why did I start talking about the gyms? Oh, tangents. I had a point. I really did have a point. Oh, I'm sorry, people. This is so annoying. Why did I start talking about the gyms? Oh yeah, New Year's resolutions. Every day we have a chance to. Every day we have a chance to start afresh. You know, every day is in a sense a mini. Every evening and every morning is a type of crucifixion, death, burial, resurrection process. Well, maybe not sorts of crucifixion. Well, I suppose if you pray at night, you suppose you're if you pray and you say, Lord, you know, sorry for the things I did today, blah blah blah, or you know, thanks for the today. And I suppose you're crucifying yourself. I don't forget the crucifixion bit for it. I'm complicating things. But every night you go to bed, and every morning you wake up. And think about it. Did you wake yourself up? Did you decide to wake yourself up? No, your eyes just opened. That's the Spirit of God that woke you up. And He woke you up for a reason, I believe. Because you've got another day. That's why I believe we should be saying, thank you, God, for another day. I used to say, man, why should I say thank you for another day? I hate life. I don't want to wake up tomorrow. Man, I'm glad I'm waking up every day to have another chance to do it right. And to do it with Him. Walking with the Lord. Yeah, man. TAJ Talks, eh? Faith-based conversations. All right. We'll talk more about the conversation with Adam after the break. See you in 2 minutes. Yeah. Got there in the end. to TAJ Talks. You are now here for the third hour. Yeah, you know what time that is. It's the third hour is what it is. Yeah, it's the third hour. Yeah, no spooky voices, no demonic BS. I'm sorry. I ain't doing it anymore, man. That stuff is real. Nah, just the music. I said I was right, man. You don't mess around with that stuff. I'm telling you, that's real. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not even going to mimic it. You know what I was about to do? I'm not doing that anymore, man. I'm telling you, that stuff is real. I've been messing around too much. Like I said, this year I'm going to be conscious. I tell you, that stuff is real. Check this out. All right, listen. I got a feeling that the whole thing that I was going through. Remember, I told you I had that dream where I felt like there was a presence in my room, and then I woke up. That happened just in the middle of when I was really going through my crisis point at the end of last year. And that was, I said that I had this dream at night, woke up, saw this thing or felt this thing in my room, demonic laughter kind of woke me up. And then I woke up in the morning and I saw that when I opened up my Bible that night, I just went, I'm just going to open up my Bible because I feel a bit freaked out. And when I checked the Bible in the morning, this was the passage. I'm going to show you what it is now. Check this out. This was the photo that I took of the Bible. So as you can see, they're talking about the end of time, right? Nation will rise against nation. Yeah, this is all in Luke 21. Yeah. So talking about end times. I've already spoken about this before. I'm just sharing the evidence now. When you see Jerusalem surrounded, blah, blah, blah. This is all, I say blah, blah, blah. I don't mean to be blah, blah, blahing, but, see the Son of Man coming. And then, look what happens. Look at this. Now the festival of unleavened bread had come, which was the Passover. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He was one of the disciples. So there's a whole demonic possession thing going on here. And then look what happens. I thought this was the passage which also had Satan fell like lightning, but it wasn't. Jesus is then in the upper room. He's doing the Passover meal with them. He's telling them he's about to be betrayed. He's talking about being betrayed. And then he says this, look. Simon, Simon, listen, Satan has demanded to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith will not fail. And you, when you have turned back, go and strengthen your brothers. I'm just showing that as evidence. That was the scripture verse that I had that I was talking about before. This stuff is real, man. So no, that witching out, yeah, I said it, but I'm not gonna do the voice. I'm going to stop referring to it as it's just the third hour, man. It's third hour and it's fun times. Third hour is still going to be, though, where I share like spooky stories and kind of like coincidental stories. Not so much spooky, coincidental. So at the beginning, let me just do that now before I get back to the talk with Adam. And by the way, it says that Peter, when once you've come back, and look at this, New Year. I feel like I got through that moment, but that whole dream and that whole thing, where I felt like there was something demonic in my room. Anyway, can you tell that I'm a little bit subdued in this talk? Does it show? Is it telling? I feel it. I feel a little bit more subdued. I feel a bit more humbled. I'm not sure if I'm humble. I feel humbled as a result of things. Yeah, it's been a tough end of the year, I'll be honest with you. Anyway, now I mentioned some coincidences. Let me mention some other coincidences. Now, this is a little bit spooky. I already mentioned the Jimmy Church coincidence. Jimmy Church makes that announcement the day after I announced that I'm doing things in a certain way. I also, on the night of Sunday the 27th, so I recorded on Saturday the 26th. I go to bed on Saturday 26th. I go to work on Sunday the 27th. Sunday the 27th is also when I noticed this thing from Jimmy Church. When I go to bed on Sunday the 27th, I had this weird thing that night of the 27th going into Monday the 28th. I woke up in the middle of the night. I just recorded the podcast, right, on the Saturday. Waking up into Monday, I had this weird thing where something kind of felt like it fell on me at night on my hips, or just fell onto me, and then it felt like it was moving, and I kind of woke up, and I swear, man, because sometimes I have like a little bit of light that's coming from like some of these, like, so I can kind of see what. I swear I could see a snake in my bed. It was and it was moving, man. It was moving. It was so rapid, but I'm sure it wasn't a snake. I'm not saying it was a snake, but what I had in my head was is a snake. I mean, what if it was? What if it was something weird and supernatural, and it was just for a brief moment of time, like a snake? It could be. I'm trying to rationalize it as well. And then at that same moment, something falls. No, a little bit later. So I'd had this thing, and I'm like getting off the covers, and I'm like, what the hell is a snake in my bed? And I was like, it can't be a snake. What the hell? And I was like, what was that dream? What's going on? I lie down, and then I hear something fall sometime later, and something falls under my bed. Now listen, some spookiness was happening the second night after I recorded the thing. Really the night after, because anyway. Here's the other coincidental thing. I go to work the next day, and I was talking, and this is not so spooky, but this is just coincidental. I go to work the next day, go to the warehouse, and I've got one less of a shift. Now, during the podcast, I was like, I don't have enough time. I wish I had more time. And I was kind of in my head like, I could do with one less day at work. I'll go into work the next day, and they drop me down a shift. Again, and it becomes so regular, and I was just like, wow, maybe that's so coincidental. I was just talking about that, and I'm getting less shifts. Another thing, I was complaining about Mariah Carey and the Christmas music that was going to be played during the Christmas period. I went, man, here we go. We're doing Christmas music in this place. I go into work the next day. Guess what they're playing? They're playing the tunes that I have on my own personal playlist. I got some random things on my personal playlist. I got Sheryl Crow. Every day is a one. Okay, everyone knows that one. There's another one from Sheryl Crow. If it makes you happy, something that isn't that bad. That's Sheryl Crow, right? That was playing at work, and I was like, hey, this is a decent tune. Not just Sheryl Crow. They started playing Coldplay. They started playing what was the other one they played? Radiohead. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. Anyway, and then they also played, what was the other one? I was thinking of the Cartman version of doing it. And then they played Jimi Hendrix. They were playing amazing tunes. And I was just complaining about it in the podcast a couple of days before. And then went up to someone at work, and I went, what's up with the music today? And they went, someone complained about it, so they're not doing that music. And then here was another coincidence. I was talking about games, yeah? So I was talking about how I was going to get some games. This wasn't the next day, but this was... So I went and bought 2 games. I already showed you the games, yeah? Let me just quickly do that whole thing again. Where's my Steam thing gone, man? Come on. So yeah, I got Death Stranding, yeah? I got Star Wars, Jedi, Fallen Order, and I got Alien Isolation. Hey, guess what? Some time ago, let me do this. Look, it was here. There's some announcements that... When was this? What was the date of this? This was 8th of December. Biggest announcements from the Games Awards of 2022. Star Wars, Death Stranding. Look at that. The games that I've just bought, they've just announced that they're... And those games have been out for a while, by the way. So it wasn't like predictable that there were going to be sequels. But I know Cyberpunk. I got Cyberpunk. They've added a new expansion for that. But yeah, they've announced, look, Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been announced. I just bought the game. Death Stranding 2. So, yeah, man. Just very coincidental. And another reason to maybe think that maybe we're living in some kind of weird matrixy supernatural? I just made a new word. Supernatural world. Now, let's get back to the talk, because this is kind of really what the talk is. We're kind of going to go in that direction anyway with this thing with Adam. So, now this bit, I want to talk a bit more about what the second thing, predictions of the future. And this really is talking about the cellular automation thing and the DICE thing to a certain extent that Adam had mentioned. But predictions of the future, I think, being able to predict things, that whole cellular automation thing, gives an indication into AI. And you can define AI as advanced intelligence. Who can be more advanced than God? So divine advanced intelligence is way more advanced than any created thing. And then you can talk about artificial intelligence. Now, here's the thing, though. If you say that you can predict, now we're talking about predictions here. If you say that you can predict what seems unpredictable in the normal sense, how can you predict where a dice is going to fall? How can you predict, in the example that Adam gave, which leaf is going to fall off of that tree? Someone comes along and is like, I am a sage of the Lord. I know which leaf is going to fall. It's going to be that one. And then the leaf falls, right? And to everybody, it'd be like, wow, how did he predict that? And then you can prove. What was the other one? Basically kind of like, predictions of the future kind of thing, like these seers who like close their eyes, or, I see the future, blah, Nostradamus, all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure Nostradamus did that. But there's some Russian lady who was doing stuff like that. Anyway, Babushka? No, Babushka is some grandmother. I'm way off. Tangents. So, by the way, I forgot to do this as well. Like, share, and subscribe, hit the bell icon, blah, blah, blah. I should have been doing that before. So anyway, if you can predict the future in that sense, yeah, that casts doubt onto something which is actually the realm of the divine then, doesn't it? Because then you could say, well, wait a second, if the Bible is making predictions which came true, but we can also predict which way a dice is going to fall by analyzing all the variables, and we can tell which leaf is going to fall from a tree by the process of cellular automation, and you can look at the effect of the cell on its neighbors. That was the thing I was going to say, should have said in the previous one, neighbors. The effects of one, that's what the term that Adam used. When one thing affects another thing, that's the effect on the neighbor. That's a technical term. So that's why I was saying before, be careful of the influences you have around you. Neighbors. Anyway, so when you think about predicting these things, you're like, wait a second, there's a process to even prediction. Even prediction is not the realm of like miracles and magic, and it's not. You could argue that, right? Now, if that's the case, people can make the argument and then say, anyone, and I was thinking this as well. I was thinking, wait a second, and maybe, this is kind of jumping a few steps. But you just go, well, wait a second. If one of the main reasons why I believed in the Bible, to be fair, and the whole story of Jesus, was that I went, wow, look at the books of Daniel, look at the book of Revelation, written thousands of years ago, in some cases, both cases. The things that are predicted, like the rise of the Greek Empire, all these kind of stuff, amazing predictions. Even the predictions of Jesus, the Messiah. The whole Messiah coming, born in Bethlehem, all this kind of stuff, Nazareth, all this kind of, and you think, wow, how did now, if you start going, wait a second, what if there is an intelligence, but that intelligence is the one that is actually the author of the Bible, and I'm going to start saying things which, I'm not saying that this is what I believe, but it's possibilities I've been looking at. But there are people who say stuff like, when it says, let us make man in our image, that this is actually kind of like God's. If people there are ideas, there's a growing ideas with the whole alien thing, advanced civilizations. Let me just grab this book. I should grab it now. Sorry, you're going to have to see my ass. I haven't eaten my peanuts, by the way. Should I? Honestly, I do like honey roasted peanuts. I've got to have a few peanuts. So hungry. Right. This book, I haven't had a chance to read. Chariots of the Gods. Erich Von Daniken. Written a long time ago. This is the kind of thing people are talking about these days. This is why I'm so interested in aliens and UFOs. I'm not interested because I want to believe it. I'm interested because I think it's part of the deception. If you can predict something, not because you have divine powers, omniscience, I'm all-knowing, but if you can predict something because you just go, look, I'm just going to study this and study that. And imagine if you have been living, have the ability not to live forever, not immortal, but what if you were an advanced civilization that had conquered certain health problems and you could live for at least 1,000 years? Imagine what you could do if you just studied the behavior of a creature that lives for 50 years, then another creature that comes another 50, and you could study human behavior. And you could so work out, based upon the knowledge that you started gaining in your 1,000 years of existence, because after 1,000 years you die. Let's say you're not immortal, right? You're a normal organic being as well. But you can study the actions of these lesser beings. You could then appear to them as if you were God by saying, I know what's going to happen in the future. And the thing is, you might not actually really know what's going to happen to the future, but you've just gone, I've studied this, studied that. I know what's coming. Oh, the Greek Empire is coming. Because you could study, I shouldn't be in the peanuts now. I've gone nuts. There's a hair. I'm just drinking around the hair. Is that possible? It's probably my own. Now, possibility of the gods, lowercase g, other creators. And this is the whole thing. Erich Von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods, ancient alien ideas, aliens that came to Earth, panspermia. They seeded Earth with life. They kind of cultivated it, they grew it, and that's who God is. That's the gods. It's actually, there is no God, and the Bible is not God. The Bible is just this UFO civilization. And there's one top god in that civilization. So it really becomes this whole Star Wars type thing, And there is a battle between a fallen god, one of the fallen. This is actual, real, spiritual philosophies and ideas from Babylonian texts, Epic of Gilgamesh, the Anunnaki, all this kind of stuff. Zechariah Sitchin starts coming along talking about the Anunnaki, and you talk about Enlil and Enki and the War of the Gods. Fascinating things, because if you look at Enlil or Enki, it's the reverse story of the Bible. It's the same story, but just the roles are reversed. The snake at the tree is actually helping. Yeah, that's very interesting. But anyway, that's why I'm looking at all this stuff, and I was questioning, saying, look, when we get a better understanding of, oh wow, I've got so many things to say, I haven't got enough time. When we get a better understanding of these things, we can actually develop a theory which says that maybe it's not gods with a capital G, it's gods. Now, I think it's a deception. Now, talking about deceptions, I don't have time to go into it. I wish I could develop that more. I was talking about the God of the gaps, basically. The other thing as well, God of the gaps, why I was saying, when you advance yourself in knowledge, you suddenly don't explain things by saying, like, oh yeah, lightning is thunderbolts from Zeus. You wouldn't say lightning because you don't know what lightning is, but you just went, oh, that spark is Zeus throwing thunderbolts. And the more you advance and you think about it, which was one of the reasons why I think we really should be thinking and questioning our traditions and superstitious beliefs at all times. Questioning, like, is there something behind that? And I think that's what Adam was getting to. Is there something behind the miracle aspect, which we are calling God? And that's the whole thing about the God of the gaps. I'm not going to go into the whole God of the gaps thing now. I think you guys understand. Now, I want to spend a bit of time on the simulation thing, talking about deceptions. I came across something which made me start, I kind of agree with Adam a bit more. I saw some things and I went, wow, I think maybe this whole parallel multiverse simulation thing is actually maybe part of a deception, or it's leading us in the wrong direction at least. Now, this guy is Nick Bostrom. That's the guy that I was talking about. Nick Bostrom has the simulation argument, and famously appeared, you can go to his website, I think you can get his actual paper that he wrote about the simulation argument, famously appeared with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan just couldn't get his head around it, was asking him loads of questions, and this is Joe trying to get through to Nick and say, look, I don't understand why. Anyway, Joe didn't really get the thing, and Nick Bostrom was kind of trying to explain the point to Joe. And then later on, you have he appears on Lex Friedman, so go and check out Lex Friedman, and Lex is talking to Nick Bostrom about all this stuff as well. So the simulation argument, I didn't really explain it too clearly, but the simulation argument is this. Either a civilization wipes itself out before it creates a computer simulations, or it has the ability to create computer simulations, but it decides it's not interested in doing that. Or, number 3, it has created computer simulations, and once it starts doing it, it creates so many that the probability that we are in the non-simulated version of the realities is so minuscule that we are probably part of a simulation. That's summarizing very, very quickly Nick Bostrom's ideas. Now, I came across a guy, Stephen Meyer, and Stephen Meyer was talking about how some of the arguments out there. Stephen Meyer, by the way, has got a book called The Return of the God Hypothesis, which I think is definitely worth looking into, or just looking into YouTube. Check out Stephen Meyer. He talks about how there is actually scientific evidence now that science is leading in the other sphere, is saying more and more there is design to the world. And that's been there for a long time. They've been talking about the biological evidence of design, the eye, the single-celled amoeba, motor in the tail, all this kind of stuff. They're like, well, there's definitely design. But what comes next then is scientists are moving towards this idea, well, then maybe something is in the nature of existence which design things on planet Earth. Planet Earth has certain things which make it fine-tuned for life. But then you get to a point, you can kind of say, all right, well, who fine-tuned the cells and the genes and the thing, and they manipulate? They created life on Earth. Who did that? And they say, well, maybe aliens and all that kind of stuff. But then you start saying, wait a second, when you look further into other aspects of existence, you go out into the wider parts of space, even Earth's location in the solar system, it's in the perfect spot to be in just the right place for life. And you go, okay, that's just one off, and Earth is there, but Earth is not the only one. Stephen Meyer starts talking about the abundance of carbon, and he says the abundance of carbon, to create carbon, which is the building blocks of life, he says you have to do something, a very specific type of reaction to make carbon, and it requires such fine-tuning that you couldn't manipulate all of the massive stars and the heat and the energy that is required to even fine-tune. It's a whole different thing. But anyway, one of the things he says is that as scientists were going through this and trying to understand whether it's an intelligent design of some biological being within the universe, some that's created Earth, or if it's something outside of that, because they start to realize, well, we can't explain how even that civilization came to be. They then start moving in the direction where they start going into multiverse theory for a whole host of reasons. I can't get into it, but yeah, you should check out this. This is actually the article. Let me just record this. This is the thing I was listening to. Has a super intellect monkeyed with our universe's physics? It's, yeah, Mind Matters. He's a British Australian. Does that make sense? Anyway, this is the thing I was reading, and look at the whole carbon thing. I was listening to. There's a whole podcast here. I'm not going to play it now. I think you can hear it, what it says.
ID the Future, a podcast about evolution and intelligent design.
Yeah, check out ID the Future and try and find Stephen Meyer's one on that, because that is a really good conversation. So anyway, I don't really have much more time to go into that. Now, the other area that Adam was talking about, which I want to quickly go into in the few last 3 minutes I've got left, he was talking about miracles. Now, miracles are those things, man. Now, I've said this before about the whole Henry VIII thing. If Henry VIII was brought here to where we are in 2023, and he saw doors opening by themselves, planes flying in the sky, he would see you go into one room and then come back from that other room with a picture of someone in that room on a flat surface. He'll be like, why is the person in the other room on? How are you carrying that? Photography. He would think that you're doing some kind of magic. Whereas we would say, no, it's a result of scientific discovery and processes that we understood how these things work. And that's the thing. These miracles that we are looking at, what if they are advances? They were previously known as miracles, but people say that there are no miracles today. Back in the day, they didn't have advances in making people who are blind see. Today, we have the science to make people blind see. Now, back in the times of Jesus, he was doing miracles on people. Back in those times, they didn't have a hospital which would restore, do laser eye surgery or whatever. So back in those days, Jesus was doing something to give sight to the blind, because he had to. But he was probably doing something that was on a cellular level what we're doing today. So maybe miracles, they don't happen today like they did in Jesus' time, because God is the one who inspires people to have ideas, to understand reality. And so we have hospitals that are doing miracles every day, but these are miracles that come from knowledge that God gives to us. So it makes me think, when God said, be fruitful and multiply, he had a plan for the human race before they fell. And I think that plan involved the progression of knowledge and technology. And maybe today's science and technology is just a taste of what unfallen humanity could have achieved hundreds, thousands of years ago if we hadn't fallen. We're doing a dumbed-down version, as what Adam said. So, we are the ones endowed with the Spirit of God and inspiration to work miracles. We are made in the image of God. He reveals. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I'll see you again after the break. The final segment. 2 minutes. See you after the break. This is TAJ Talks. Okay, welcome back to TAJ Talks. Yeah, man. The music's different this time, isn't it? What does that mean? It means he's staying over there. Keep your distance, bub. Yeah, man. Welcome back to TAJ Talks. You're here with me, TAJ, your host. Like Taj Mahal, but I say TAJ. And we're just going to wrap up the show with the final segment now. Talking about the things that we've been discussing with Adam. Just kind of filling in the gaps kind of thing. So here we go. This is it. I love this music, by the way. I'm going to have some chocolate while I wait for that music to play. Man, that's so good. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Can't do a TAJ Talks without some air guitar. All right. Now, one of the things I didn't ask Adam about was about his thoughts about the end times. Now, I know I spoke a lot about end times in season 1, but genuinely, there was a reason why I could have gone there. I didn't. Now, let me just say reason why I could. With all of the advances in technology and all the rest of it, we could be going into an era where humanity is facing, as I was just saying before, about advances in medical science, you know? The things that we can do. We could be going into an era where things are so amazing, so, you know, they're talking about even prolonging life itself. They're talking about the telomeres on the end of genes and how they can stop the telomeres unwinding and we can actually live longer. Like, we can actually do that. Imagine that. That would be real immortality. I think that'd be a great idea, the way that we're going about things right now. Us living forever. Imagine, though, what technology could do. It could, where it's going with the whole Ray Kurzweil exponential growth thing up the chart kind of thing, we could be moving to like a golden era, but a false golden era. Living in the metaverse, living online, living in computers, on computers, becoming computers, you know, the merging of technology with humans and all the rest of it. It starts moving in spiritual areas, which is what I was saying, you know, Ray Kurzweil starts talking about like telepathy. You could just, if everyone is connected with the web in some advanced AI state, you wouldn't even need language anymore because you would just all know. Like, computers don't need to talk to each other, do they? They know. Yeah, but this is another reason why you should all check out that film Her with Joaquin Phoenix. One of the films that Pablo recommended. The best film he's ever recommended to me, by the way. And I haven't seen any of the latest ones that he recommended to me, but that was one of the best ones. But yeah, I didn't ask Adam about the end times thing, because when you have that whole thing in context, look at what it says here. This is Revelation, Book of Revelation 13, talking about the beast from the earth. Look what it says in verse 15 of Revelation 13. One of the beasts, there's various bad individuals or bad beasts at the end. One of the beasts is given power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as that would not worship the beast, the image of the beast. Now, that is that bit there, that the image of the beast should both speak. He gives breath. Basically, he gives life to the image of the beast. Now, there is an explanation for that, but I know this is not really talking about AI, if you ask me. I don't really think this is talking about AI. It sounds very much like AI, though. The creation of something, giving life to it. So, yeah, that just makes me think about the whole thing of, like, us creating something which then overtakes us. And that's the whole thing about, like, the Terminator thing. That's the whole Terminator franchise. So yeah, I didn't talk to Adam about that, but I could have gone into that area. Now, what I want to do is I want to just finish off this segment by looking at a few news articles around this topic area. So I've got enough time now. I don't have to rush this bit of the news topics, but let's just look at some of these topics then, Right. Antarctic penguins. I'm going to move this out of the way. So it's okay. Antarctic penguins recognize themselves in a mirror, I guess, hinting they belong to a small list of self-aware animals. This is the whole thing about self-awareness and consciousness. And what is consciousness? What is self-awareness? Like, if you as a human don't know that you exist, if you don't have self-consciousness, do you exist? If you don't know you exist, then do you exist? And if you do exist, who do you exist to if you're in a world where there is no other conscious beings? So if you're the only person and you're not conscious, and there's no one else to recognize that you're conscious, then do you exist? So this is the whole thing about self-awareness. Let me just start with self-awareness, okay? Apparently, studies have shown that a few mammals, including the great apes, bottlenose dolphins, and elephants, as well as some birds and such as pigeons show self-awareness. Goodness. Indian house crows and magpies have self-awareness. That's a really random list. I think that tells me that I think on some level all animals have some level of consciousness. Now you could start to argue and saying does a rock have consciousness? Now check this out. Check this out. Robot Ada. This happened in October of last year. Becomes the first to give evidence to the UK's House of Lords. You got to check this out.
What is the role of technology in creating art in the future?
The role of technology in creating art will continue to grow as artists find new ways to use technology to express themselves and reflect and explore the relationship between technology, society, and culture.
The robot is providing evidence, but it is not a witness in its own right. And I don't want to offend the robot, but it does not occupy the same status as a human, and that you as its creator are ultimately responsible for the statements.
All right, so you get the idea.
The biggest thing that I've seen, which is absolutely takes me to my core, is actually not so much about how human-like Ada is, but how robotic we are. The algorithms that run our systems are extremely able to be analysed, understood, and created.
Right, so do you see? There we go. That's kind of summarising the kind of territories we've been talking about. So 2023 will be the year of ethics legislation, AI ethics legislation. Apparently also in Europe, they're also starting to legislate. There's the AI Act in Europe. Now look at this sentence. From the curvature of cucumbers to the size of fish fingers, no aspect of life is too small or insignificant to escape the watchful gaze of Brussels. So it should come as no surprise that the EU is now turning its attention to the world of artificial intelligence. That's right, folks, the EU has released a set of draft regulations on AI. Now get this. The above sentences were not written by me, but are in fact the work of an artificial intelligence. They were written by ChatGPT. You're going to be hearing a lot more about ChatGPT because apparently there is this thing which is going to, like Google is done apparently. Google is done, world's most powerful AI chatbot offers human-like alternatives to search engines. And it's this level of AI advancements, which is what Ray Kurzweil was talking about passing the Turing test. That you can't distinguish the difference between AI and humans. Ada, the robot, she's talking about how she can create art. And there were some articles that I never got around to sharing last year, but there's pictures, artistic pictures are being made by AI. AI is not just computing things, it's not just calculating things, it's getting involved in art. When you start to get involved in art, I believe art is on the same level as spirituality. You're then moving into areas where you're talking about, well, this is consciousness. So yeah, now look at this one. Metal Gear Solid developer, Death Stranding, the game that I was talking about, Hideo Kojima wants to live forever as an AI. I mean, this guy, the games that he makes, but even him, he's saying, I haven't got too much time to go into this, but look, he wants to live forever. So these are the things that we were talking about. This Black Mirror-esque AI service lets you speak to the deceased loved ones. Here's another thing. If you could gather up all, let's say I don't exist next year, right? Now, what if you wanted me to carry on being here? All you have to do is gather together all my podcasts, everything I've ever written, everything I've ever spoken about on clips, on videos, and all that, put them all together, run an AI algorithm over it, and it learns who TAJ is from all of the past things that I've said. Let's say I was tweeting, it would take all my tweets, and then you could replicate me with the AI, and you could talk to me, even though I was, let's say for what, God forbid, touch wood, I die, and you could. That's what they're doing. They are replicating the deceased people using AI. You look at this, the merging of technology with humans. Spray on Smart Skin lets AI, uses AI to let you type without a keyboard. They have the whole thing about the race to the metaverse, the whole Mark Zuckerberg thing. You know, this was something that they're all laughing at, but I really do think that we're moving in a direction where we are merging with AI, and it's getting scary. Running out of time. Now, here's the other thing. Very quickly, IBM is preparing for quantum computing inflection point. Keep an eye on quantum computing. That's also going to be the next big thing. And quantum computing requires materials. Now, why are we going down into places like Antarctica? And we're drilling down into Antarctica. We're trying to get things. This is a video of them drilling, showing a camera going all the way down into this hole in Antarctica. You know, why are we doing this stuff? You've got to see this, because when it gets to the end, they've sped it up, obviously. I think it got a bit stuck there. Oh my goodness. Hurry up, mate. I've got more things to talk about. And that's the bottom. They wanted to just study that ice right down there. So why are they doing that? Why are they minerals never seen before found in 50-ton meteorite that crashed on Earth? It's apparently called Allabout because it landed in a place in Ella in Somalia, I think, or Ethiopia. Spacecraft headed to metal asteroids. NASA is planning to go, is sending Artemis up to the moon, all this kind of stuff. And look at this. NASA says that we will be living on the moon by the end of the decade. Living and working. What are they going to the moon for? What is it? Quantum computing. I'm telling you, they're trying to get materials. And on top of that, NASA begins independent study on UFOs. They've put together a team. They're all studying what UFOs officially now. And I think the reason is because they are hunting for UFOs. They're hunting for aliens. Scientists are trying to decide how to respond to aliens. There's so many other things. I could go into all this stuff about parallel worlds. The universe is not locally real. Is our universe a hologram? How to test if we're living in a computer simulation. Einstein's theories don't really hold water anymore. That's that one up there. You know, all of these things, and I need to rush that now because I need to move on. All of these things, this is why I love the conversation that I had with Adam. We were talking about forever is a long time. You know, that whole eternity past, you know, imagine God existing without a beginning, you know, as a young child. Anyway, it just blew my mind. Anyway, amazing that I never met Adam before and we had this conversation. So he was a great conversationalist, really good conversations. And wasn't it also quite coincidental that I used that technology music for the first time? Even back then, I was using that tech music. Anyway, so thanks to Adam. Thanks for coming onto the show, Adam. And you know what? Genuinely, his views have really helped me in working through my faith thing. I'm really glad he shared his points of views because they were kind of counterbalanced to some things that I've had in my head, which made me quite skeptical of spiritual things and Bible and rest. Anyway, Adam, that's just me ending that bit because I'm really running out of time. And to say thank you. He must be traveling, digital nomad that he is. And we hope to have you again, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Yeah. Now, I have one thing that I want to do. I want to do a quick short. No, I tell you what I want to do. I'm going to ask a question. And next podcast, I'm going to give you the answer. Here's a quiz question. All right, for all of you. Okay. Round 1, science and nature. Here's a quick question. Which of these natural objects are there the largest number of? Neurons in your brain, trees on Earth, chickens on Earth, stars in the Milky Way. All right? Next podcast, I'll give you the answer to that question. Okay, and now, another thing that I want to do is I said I would do shorts. let's do shorts. Okay. I did say last time I said we'll do shorts. I wish I had my shorts lined up. All right, check out this short. I don't think I have enough time, but check out this short.
His name was Werner von Braun.
Best timed shot
he released
in TV
from
history.
his particular version of a thermos flask, the one lying on its side behind me now, were hydrogen and oxygen. If you release those two gases into a confined space with a hole at the other end of it, and mix them as you do so, and then set light to them, you get that.
Look at that, man. What a perfectly timed shot.
The planets.
That really is. All right, we come to the end. I said I'd get shorts in there. There's your short for you. Okay, we'll be back after the break. Closing section. Final things to say. And that's it. Wrap up the show. So, back in 1 minute. I wish I could have done more shorts. I had more. Man, time has been against me this time round. So, anyway, see you after the break. 1 minute. Wrap up the whole show. And that's it. And then we'll be done. And I can go and have some food. Alright. See you later. 1 minute later. All right, welcome back to TAJ Talks. This is the final segment, just to close the whole show. So once again, thanks to Adam for joining me and being part of TAJ Talks. Really hope to have him back again. And what an appropriate topic to have for the beginning of Season 2 after the crisis of faith that I ended up in Season 1. Thinking about all these things. These are genuinely the topics that have been troubling me. I mean, there's many other things as well, a lot of personal things. But man, I just want to say thank you to Adam, and I also want to say I want to explain a bit more about some of the things I've been going through, but we've got the closing segments. This is the closing few minutes, so I want to tie it up. But I want you to do one thing first. Watch this with me for a second. Okay, let me just play this.
How many of you have goldfish? Anybody? Fish tank? Nobody? I'm going to share some videos with you this morning, if we can show the first one, about goldfish.
These fish don't know that I put their fish bowl inside of a larger aquarium. All they have to do is swim out the top of the fish bowl, and they're free. They were in the smaller fish bowl for 15 minutes while I changed the water in the larger tank. And now here they are, thinking that they're still stuck inside the fish bowl without any way to escape.
Okay, we're going to show you part 2 of this.
Doing an experiment to see how long it takes the fish to realize they can swim out of their fish bowl and go anywhere they want. And they keep running into the edges of it, but they don't realize they could swim out of the fish bowl into the larger aquarium. They feel like they're confined.
There we go, that one got out. Okay, we'll go on to the next video. Okay, some say goldfish have a memory of just 7 seconds, but these fish were taught how to play soccer. Can you see that? Look at that. They were taught how to play soccer and shoot the goal. Thank you. And this is the man that trained them. So those fish, you can change it now.
Right. Now, why I showed that was because I've been going through a crisis of faith recently, okay? And really, my crisis of faith was me like that goldfish in that fishbowl, all those goldfish. And what's happened recently is I decided to just basically, I got to my knees one day and I just turned my focus upwards, just like the fish in that fishbowl. That fish kept going around. It just kept going around. It was free. It had the potential to be free. But what that fish, one of the fish did, is it just turned upwards a little bit. And once it realized that there was hope, there wasn't something pushing it down from above, there was no ceiling, it was able to get out and be free and join Mr. Turtle in the thing. And that's what happened with me. I won't go into all the details, but I was going through a bad thing at the end of last year. And I was questioning so many things, and I was looking at so many things around me and getting so discouraged. And I was just thinking, man, what's the point? Like, just what is the point? And as I say, I turned my focus upwards, and I said one day, just before the new year, I think it might have been a few days after Christmas, and I just said, help me. I don't even know what to call you anymore, but I don't even know if you're there, but I believe that you can hear me. It's not even a think. I'm talking from faith and belief. You're there. You can hear this, and I need you to show me that you can hear this. And the next day, I saw something, a YouTube video, and the things that it was saying was speaking so much of what I needed to hear. Telling me to dream again, telling me to have hope, and telling me you got to be very, very careful about what you have around you. And so, I just want to say, if you're in that situation as well yourself, hey, things can change this year. And I do wish you all the very best. Thanks for tuning in for another TAJ Talk. Thanks for joining me for Season 2. And I hope that we have an amazing journey together again in this next season. Now, next talk will be February. I don't know exactly when, but it will be February. I'm doing a monthly thing now. Just need more time. So, the only thing it leads me to say now is, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and God bless.